Welcome to Beer, Bourbon, and Ball with your hosts, Jokers, M. Barikoff, and Jeff Daddy.
Two brothers and a joker cutting through the noise, breaking down players like they're breaking in toys. They talk life laughs and who's next to fall. It's not just football, it's beer, it's bourbon and ball. Sip slow, speak real, let the banter brawl. You tuned in now to Beers, Bourbon, and Ball.
Let's go!
Woo! Let's go!
How we doing, boys?
I am
Doing
wonderful.
good, Joe.
You?
Hey, amped up, ready for the show, excited for the night. We
Joe.
got a big show ahead of us, and a lot of
Joe.
people tuning in already.
Joe, your hair looks really good today. I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Man.
Joe.
I
Good
love
to
it.
Well, what are you guys
Daddy.
drinking? What are you guys drinking?
Mark, go
I'll
ahead.
go first. Want me to go first? I'll go first.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, I went to the local liquor store here in Portland, kind of by the University of Portland. Talked to the guy. This is called Ransom. It's from Sheridan, Oregon. It's a whiskey rye. That's what I'm going to be drinking tonight, but I'm also maybe possibly going to sip on something from Heaven's Hill. It's called Mellow Corn. So there's the two things I'm looking at, fellas. What do you guys got? Talk to me.
Mark, that was impressive. I like
Nice.
that. I haven't drank since the last show, so I just decided to open up a bottle of Colonel Taylor. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that.
Wow.
Got it for a good deal at my local liquor store. Guy's great, bottled in bond, $89. I don't think Colonel Taylor needs more introduction than it's just really good drink.
I like it. Cheers, boys. Well, I'm drinking Redbreast Single Pot, 15-year, good old Irish whiskey. And with that, obviously, we've got a big matchup tonight. We got Michigan State, the Paul Bunyan Trophy, over 125 years of play here. Michigan's by far in the lead, 75 wins to Michigan State's 38. But a rivalry that dates back to 1898. And I'm excited for these two coaches to get on. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State. I mean, we've got a new guy in the NDL. He was great at Georgia State, got a big-time job promotion to go to Michigan State. And then you've got the Michigan owner or a Michigan coach who I think he's feeling the heat a little bit from the boosters, fellas. I mean, he's not feeling Syracuse heat, but he's feeling Michigan heat. And that's a big-time stressful position to be in. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this is kind of do or die must-win situation, and CG's no slouch, man. He's one of the best passers in the game, and he's got to get a little freaky in this game because he's got 2 wins on the season. What is he? 2 and 5.
Yeah, what's
not good.
great about him, guys, I like CD. He's a big-time supporter of this podcast, of this live show. He's been on it since day one. And I respect that. I really do. And so is the Michigan coach. They both are big BB&B guys. So I don't know. This has the makings of a classic.
Yeah, this is Freak's second time on the show, and the first go around. Well, leave it at that.
Hey, before we get moving on, I have to address something, and this goes to the NDL higher ups. I am not happy with the Syracuse scheduling making me go on the road. I should have all home games. I don't know why I'm having to go to Clemson and play with my geriatric, terrible guys from Syracuse. We're done. Let's get on with the podcast.
I agree. I think maybe we can hand it over to you guys. And, before we bring on CG's itching. He's got a prep talk to his boys. Game right around the corner. I think you guys wanted to kind of take over and announce something.
Who's going to go first? Jeff Daddy, you got this.
Yeah.
You want me to start?
I will. I'm really fired up. I've been working on this guest for a while. Mark, you have too, and
Yep.
It's taken a long time and some contract negotiations, and I'm really excited to bring this guy on. Mark, I'll tell his overall record.
Yeah, please.
His overall record is 133-45. He's been close to winning a couple championships, has not. And before it was the Beefy Cup, it was actually called the NDL Cup.
Yep.
He has a couple rings out there in the NDL Cup before it was the Beefy Cup. So, it's Mark. Go ahead.
My talk might give this away, but here's the thing. You guys I don't think anybody takes the NDL for granted, but the guy that we have on this is the NDL. I don't care what you want to think about the NDL, all the new guys, the vets, it doesn't matter. We're here because of the guest that's coming on. This guy is NDL. I don't care what you think of him. I don't care that somehow he started one season and then left. If it wasn't for this guy, the NDL wouldn't be here. I'm a 51-year-old college basketball coach that I'm not into video games anymore. But as I told him on a text today, I'm in the NDL because of this dude. And I'll tell you the last thing I'll say before we bring on this guy. I think this is there should be a trophy. It shouldn't be the national championship. It should be this guy as the trophy. But here's what I'll say.
Love that.
I got an email from this guy, and I was scared to death to play my first game because he listed all these things that you could and could not do. This email, it was like coming from the President of the United States of America. And I had no idea. I'm just a video game guy, and it listed this stuff, and it says, you break this, you're gone. And I lived by what this guy said for season after season. And I know there's a lot of old guys in the league that did this also. We lived by the rules. There was no anything but, because we were scared to death to not be in this league because of some mythical urban creature by the name of, and he's coming on right now, the name of Jeff freaking Mo.
Let's go!
Yeah! Let's go!
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. And that intro was extremely flattering. Thank you.
Let's go.
You know what's interesting, Mark? I came on season 2. You were in season 1. I was pissed because you got in, and then Jeff reached out at some point, and I remember that email, and I was like, damn, man. Like, I got up by 14 points in one game, and I'm like, I'm not getting close to that 35, man.
You know, it's funny, Jeff, to even jump in on that, because, I mean, we are literally now talking about 21 years ago, right? And so I remember bringing Mark on. I remember the idea of like, oh, hey, there was something, and I don't specifically remember what it was, Jeff, but there was something that was specifically out there about you or your play or whatever. I honestly, I don't remember specifically what it was, but there actually was a determination to give Mark a try. And if Mark did well to follow the rules, which, by the way, I sent Joe, I had not looked this up, and we can look at them later or whatever. I sent Joe the Word doc, the original Word doc that has all of the season 1 rules on it, as well as language from the application and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, but the fact that Mark came in and Mark instantly won everyone over, right? And Mark just being the way he was, and then also playing the way he did, and being so sort of conscientious about his style and all of the things, it basically made it almost, a virtual lock that, oh yeah, certainly we'll bring on his brother too. Like that makes perfect sense. It's funny you mention that though, and also it's fucking crazy that I remember some of these silly things because there's no reason.
Yeah,
literally no reason.
Jeff.
Hey, Jeff,
go ahead.
Yeah, Mark.
No, go, Jeff. Go ahead.
Where did the idea of the NDL come from?
So it goes very specifically, I think, to what Mark was talking about. One of the things, so my PSN ID, right, is Jeff Mo. It is literally 6 letters. And I'm pretty certain that I probably could have had Jeff if I just decided to do it, because it was that early on in online. You had to buy an extension for your PS2 that literally you plugged into the back of your PS2. And there were so very few people online at the time. And one of the things that I don't think necessarily are sort of like newer gamers, guys who aren't fucking 50 years old, right, don't really appreciate and understand is the idea that like before there was online, there was no online, and then we all came on. But like it was the idea, I think, that like when you were a little kid or when you were in high school, because there was no ability to play anyone outside of your neighborhood, outside of your friend group, if you were the guy, which I assume that most everyone that was in our league or whatever was kind of the guy for at least their little neighborhood, or they could definitely sort of like ball at whatever, or slap the most at Mario, whatever the thing was. And so when the world opened up to you, when it became sort of like the light switch went on, and then the entire globalization of online gaming happened, it was a big wake-up call for everyone, right? Like all of the people that thought they were the best or whatever, it weeded it out. But also one of the things that just didn't exist out there was really kind of like, I don't know, a uniform concept of what is the right way to play, or sort of like what isn't, sort of just like taking advantage of the fact that NCAA 2005 was kind of a garbage game, and like the designers didn't really build this thing with the idea that like, hey, there's going to be millions of people online playing this thing, and they're going to exploit every little thing that we don't develop to make it better. So there were some leagues that like when online first came out and NCAA got online, a handful of leagues popped up, and so
League Daddy.
And on League Daddy, there were just leagues and leagues and leagues and leagues, and people just creating a league, and some of them were really good. Big Rye had CSFL, and Dr. Tom had Old School Players League. There are a handful more that I can't remember, but like with Big Rye, I found his league through playing both of us being in sort of like a really shitty league with a bunch of guys that were just like cheaters and cheesers and stuff like that. And so one of the things that you saw very early in those days was kind of like, hey, if this person sort of plays the right way and has the right sentimentality, that like the same kind of idea, the video game worldview that I have, then, I want to get with this guy. I want him to play more, because I don't want to play those guys. It exists now for anyone who does lobby gaming or anything like that, and I am not a gamer by any stretch, but you gravitate toward those people that you think do it the right way. So there were leagues out there, but most of the leagues, CSFL or OSPL, or like all of those leagues were about 40 teams, and so they would take the 40 best teams, and that was the league. And so the idea came around that like, hey, the whole idea of dynasty mode has just been introduced into NCAA. You own your team, and then you run it multiple seasons, and you try to accomplish the goals that were on sort of like the team goals. And if you didn't, then you could get fired, or if you did, then you could move up from your job at Air Force to Power 5 or whatever. It wasn't Power 5 then, but that idea combined with the idea of like, hey, what if we just sort of did it a better way? It is really kind of the fascinating sort of thing that got me excited about it, and a few other people, right? Like, at the end of the day, nothing that I ever did was alone or in a silo. I am positive that I overworked a lot of things just simply because that's kind of how I'm hardwired. But at the end of the day, like, because the league was so big and because it had so many different things, it needed a bunch of great conference commissioners, by the way. It needed, there were more than a handful of people that were just sort of like Wes and Mike.
I was.
Guys. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so like conference commissioners, you get in and like, hey, you've got to go through the entire schedule and look at whether or not the guys did their little write-ups after the game and stuff like that. And so I sent this to an email to Joe with a bunch of other things that I sent over. But, at the end of the day, the idea behind creating a contract, I do not know how it exists now, but for that first year, right, to be a player, you had to be the right kind of player. You sign a contract when you got your team, and then the contract had a bunch of different things you do. So one of the things that we did back then that I don't think you all do now is you would do a survey after the game. You would do a 5-question survey that would rate your opponent from 1 to 5 on things like offensive play selection, defensive play selection, variety, overall.
Yeah, we're still doing that. We're doing that.
Fantastic. So like, and combined with the contract goals that were gameplay, win this conference, or you have Michigan was an A, so every team, or an A minus in the first game. So every team that you would play that had a lower grade was an expected win. Any team that was higher was an expected loss, and that was your win goal. And then also the rivalry games. Combine all of that into the contract that ultimately would allow people to keep their team and move up, just like Dynasty mode on the offline. Or if you wanted to, you could sort of like blindly opt into the draft, right? So tell me how much of this actually stuck around, or what has sort of changed from it. But
we're doing it all, brother.
I'm getting. We got about 6 or 7 owners with questions for you, but
all right,
what we're going to do is we're going to go through. We'll start we want to talk to Coach CG. We'll get this game primed up and off, and then we're going to for you. There's about 49,000 people viewing. We'll go through that with Jeff, and then there he is, CG.
Hey, CG.
CG, you're on mute, big dog.
God dang, the pressure's too much for him.
Already, CG?
God, CG.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness.
We lose him?
We have Jeff Mo on, and you fall apart on us?
Hey, Rick, we're having production problems.
No, who's producing this show?
There we go. You're muted.
No, he's muted. Jeff Mo, while he's trying to figure out how to turn himself on, do you realize that I don't even.
By the way, I never got to introduce Bardstown.
Yeah, what do you got?
Bourbon. Fantastic. Jeff sent it to me. It's so generous, both of you guys. And the idea that you had to talk me into this was basically the equivalent of, hey, we've got this thing. Do you want to come on? Yeah, absolutely. Love to. Like, oh, it'll only be 10 minutes. Like, hey, how about I just come for the whole thing? So
I told you I wanted to get you that Discovery one from Bardstown, the Discovery series. I think you probably know it, right?
Yeah. My wife is from
favorite.
Frankfort, Kentucky, and so my brother-in-law is actually in distribution. So he's my hookup. The Colonel Taylor bottle that I have in the other room is from him. Like every year at my birthday, he just gets me another bottle of Weller, like all the best stuff.
I love it. CG, can we
got
hear you?
CG.
All right, you can hear me now?
Yeah!
Oh.
Thank you, Ricky. We have a great production team. They got it done.
Awesome.
Hey, listen, this guy CG was so worried. He texted me at like 6 a.m. What's going on? Who's the guest? What's going on? Like, I love this. Like, CG, you are all about beer, bourbon, and ball, buddy.
I love it, man. I've loved it since the time I joined. My first year was last season, and I've been watching it every time you guys do it. It's awesome.
CG,
Well,
what's your drink of choice? We ask every coach that comes on. Yeah, what we got tonight?
I just got a couple Blue Moons. That's all.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
Cheers to that. All
For all
right.
of your touchdowns, I got an 805 with my Colonel Taylor ready for you, buddy.
Woo!
Nice.
CG,
Hey,
are you nervous?
No, I'm good. I'm okay.
Okay. Because we've had a lot of guys come on here and not perform.
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
Okay. All right.
Hey, CG, I had a chance to talk with your best defensive back, Malik Spencer. And Malik, as you know, is a 2-time All-Academic Big Ten Award winner, majoring in business. He loves his finance class. I talked to his business professor, and Mrs. Smith was super excited about him. He has lots of great things to say about you and your leadership. I did ask him, and we're going to ask you after this, I asked him what his favorite pregame food was. And he told me something we've never heard before. I wrote it down. He said, Jeff Daddy, my favorite food is salt and vinegar chips topped with caviar, creme fraiche, and chives. And he says, ask my coach what his favorite food is. So we're going to leave you with, what is your favorite pregame food, Coach?
Oh, it's nothing like that, man. I just had a burger and a brat a little bit earlier, but nothing like Malik. He's got a crazy taste for those wild foods.
Oh, I love it. Listen, CJ, my brother and I have been in major talks with Jeff Mo's agent. It's given me gray hair, and I've lost some hair from it because where is this game being played at tonight? This is how off I've been. Where is this game being played?
We're at the Woodshed tonight. We're in Spartan land here tonight.
Good. I like that. And I'll be honest with you, your opposing coach has been killing me on text messages also. trying to get information, and I refuse to give up any information on anything. So I'm just letting you know right now.
Right. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Hey, CG, I'm going to put you on the spot, and if you don't, that's okay. But we have the NDL creator on the show. Any question for him that come across your mind?
Yes. Great.
Honestly, man, this league is amazing, and I'm surprised that it's been around so long, because I used to play online in the PS2 days, like he's talking. I used to play. We used to play like on the Dreamcast. We used to play on 2K on PlayStation. Like, it's crazy that you're able to get 100+ people together and maintain it this long. So it's very impressive, man. Seriously.
No, I appreciate it. Like I was saying before, the ability to go out and find a bunch of people, it all came down to the idea originally of like, hey, there are these core people on these handful of leagues. Like, you could find the ones that are like, oh, hey, never, ever with that guy. But there were the other ones that kind of like did work. And what I think was like the great revelation, because again, like there was no track record for it, right? Like there was no history of this, and we all kind of existed in our own little worlds, is the idea that like, yeah, there really are at least 117 other people on this planet that want to sort of like play the right way and do this thing the right way. I think that there were a hell of a lot more guys that were just sort of like, and I think back about some of those early years, and just like, there were some dudes just didn't get it. They didn't understand. You're like, you want me to play what? Or like your rules and all that stuff. And so it's at the end of the day, though, the longevity it all has literally nothing to do with me. It's a testament to all of the great people that picked it up and carried it and keep it going, and all of the guys who play and all the people that love it. Like that's the fun part about it. Yeah, it had a good idea, but like,
yeah, it's so much fun, man. Everybody that puts in the work for the content and the videos and the articles and everything else that everybody does, it's honestly like, I'm in other leagues, but I don't really care honestly much about them. I always try to play this the most and hang out like this live chat. I'm in the live chat all the time, just chatting with everybody, and
yes, you are.
It's freaking awesome, dude. I love
it. The content creation and stuff like that is really funny that you mentioned it. So because I knew that I was coming on here and I wanted to, I haven't gone into the NDL archives. Like they literally had to dig up a hard drive that, you know, is just sort of like in a drawer of hard drives. Thankfully, I was switching computers a couple months ago and just made the effort to get a label maker and label these old hard drives. And so I pulled out the old drive that was the pre-2017 drive, which technically was just sort of like the 3 computers I had from 2004 to 2017, 15, something like that. And there it was. And I was able to pull up kind of like all of these. I am glad that I did it, but like I copied in all of my game recaps for the entire season 1 that I had. And so like, and I could go back and look and read every one of my game recaps from 2004. And so, and one, I'm just like, oh man, get this guy a fucking editor. And two, you know, it was fine. And like, there were some little articles and stuff like that for like, we had a magazine early called NDL Weekly. Here's one. Do you remember that we actually did at one? Blake, homie, it was awesome. Is awesome, right? But back in the day, I would just sort of like dream up these random ideas, but I had no ability to like develop them out to make them a reality. And so one of them was it was like NDL. It was basically a play on the ESPN.com homepage. And basically I was like, hey, can you make me the ESPN homepage? Only it's going to have and I'll just, you know, I'll have the articles or whatever, but it just looks exactly like ESPN, only we'll change the branding. And just like complete straight rip from ESPN. And so, Joe, I think I sent that over to you. But
that's all anybody does now, man. They do that all over the place.
Yeah. So like, the ability for people just to be excited about that stuff and like create the content and do the things, to me, it was always something that I loved doing, but I even more, I loved how excited other people got about it, and that, you know, I wasn't just one fucking weirdo who like got a little too excited about doing everything 125%.
Well, we obviously this is the best league in the world. Everybody knows it. And Jeff, this is sustained for so long, which is a beautiful thing. Joe, do we want to get to our predictions for the game and let these two studs battle it out?
Yeah, before we get on, CG, obviously you're the 35.5-point favorite in tonight's game against a team that has a lot of redemption. Did not perform under the lights last time, and I think he's taking a lot of pride in making sure he performs tonight. So he's coming into town looking to knock you off. What's your prep talk going to be like with your team to keep them fired up and go out there and beat a team that's a 35.5-point underdog?
Well, we don't look at the lines, but I always tell them that we don't overlook people, no matter who it is. They laid an egg in week 1 against a 5 team, so we learned from that, and it ain't happening again. So that's the message.
Okay. Well,
Joe, can I get action on my FanDuel app at 35? I mean, Moneyline Michigan feels like that'd be a safe swing for a Michigan fan. Like, no offense, CG, by the way. It's just I think I only had one team in NDL, and it was when I wasn't pretending to be a fake player to then sort of like secretly weed out cheaters.
Hey, Jeff Mo, I was a fake player in the farm.
Exactly.
Did you say 35.5? So 36 I have to win by?
Yeah, I got to cover.
If I do that, I'm out of the league, right?
Well,
potentially.
35-point rule.
We don't play it by the spread. We just play the pick. We give a prediction and a live score.
Steve, here's what I'm going to say. First. I'm going to go with this. I really like the Michigan guy, Freak. He's a good dude. But CG, you've been such a staunch supporter of BB&B. I've got you by a field goal tonight.
Nice. I'll take it, man.
Cheers.
I'll take it.
Right.
Appreciate it.
I did a deep dive on CG, and he almost passes as well as I do. So I'm going to go 38-21 Michigan State.
Michigan State. Jeff Mo, you got a prediction, or are you?
Michigan 7-0 in a tight battle of two defensive stalwarts. The Wolverines go into East Lansing, the trash factory that is East Lansing, and then somehow manage to stun everyone with a defensive touchdown.
I love it. Let's go.
2-5 versus 6-2.
Good luck, CG.
Good luck, CG.
Thanks for having me
Cheers.
on.
Thanks for coming on, bro. A lot of pressure. We're up to
Cheers,
79,000 viewers for your game.
I'm trying to figure out, fellas, who is Big Dave Games? He's talking about Adobe Photoshop skills and our own banners in the forums. That was incredible to have your own banner. But who is Big Dave Games? It's running back. RB. Okay, RB.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Just for fun fact, boys, I'm going to say 49-31. Michigan State takes it home. High scoring battle.
Hey, Jeff. So C Nasty and Corey, as we've come to find through this chat right now, is awfully jealous of your hair. He wants to know, what hair product are you using?
So that's a good question. I don't usually actually use anything. It kind of just does this by itself.
You are breaking Corey right now in 55 pieces.
So when I would have been actually in NDL and started and running it, it was actually a lot more kind of like this. It's a little too long to do this now, but basically like very big and very up. It wasn't a faux hawk that I'm doing right now, but it was just like tall and crazy and stuff like that. But
is that what the kids call emo, Jeff?
I don't think so. Emo would be more like when Jimmy Butler showed up to training camp with sort of like sad emo Jimmy hair, right? It's sort of down and
there you go.
A little bit more emo.
Joe, we got this game coming on.
Working on it. We are working on it.
I have a question.
I
got one.
Oh, go ahead.
Jeff, what was your best moment in NDL and your least favorite moment? I think that was the question from somebody in here.
I mean, if we're talking about playing the game, then I'll maybe separate out sort of like league running from playing the game. I think. Could we talk about the BV Cup, or as it was known back in the day, the NDL Cup? I think I won it in season 2.
You won 2 of them.
That was a big deal for me. Because I never really, and quite honestly, I'll tell you right now, and I think I had multiple conversations with either Wes or Mike about this. Like, I got really lucky in that draw. I don't remember a whole lot about it other than the fact that, like, because it's tournament style, I got a good draw, and ultimately I think I had to beat maybe one or two like very strong players, but in like a 6-round, is that right? 6-round tournament, it's a little bit different now, right? You guys have kind of like a round robin that leads into brackets, stuff like that. A lot of it just came down to the randomizer website that we would use to just sort of like draw down the numbers and stuff like that.
What about your worst memory?
Worst memory. Yeah. In playing, I don't know. I nothing jumps out at me as sort of like oh, hey, this was awful. There was, I think, one of the things that I definitely knew, right, I'm self-aware enough to know me, and that like whenever there would be a question about whether or not someone was sort of like on the fringe of cheesing or just sort of like maybe not in lockstep with everyone or homogenized, which is its own different sort of conversation too, is about whether or not the rules homogenize gameplay too much. I know that Tattoo, right, he was a big honestly, he was just a pain in the ass in a million different ways, but one of the ways that he was most a pain in the ass is because when he thought he was right, he would just sort of like hammer home the idea of like, hey, if the play is working, why can't I run it 75 times? That is exactly what realistic is. Like when a defensive coach can't stop at a play, the offense will just run it until they figure it out or until the game ends. And so, but I rarely, if ever, got anyone that even came close because I was me. And so it sometimes would be a little bit hard to figure that out. But there were a couple times I think that like, I don't know, pinching the middle linebackers and then doing an all-out blitz. This is something that just jumps up to my mind. Shout out anyone from the 05 game or 6 game that remembers that it was basically a nickel formation. You'd R2 down to squeeze in your linebackers, and both middle linebackers would just fire through the line untouched every single time. Stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, nice that I'm remembering more than anything.
I think one of the things we question popped up, and I thought maybe it would just be let's have you address it. One of the people is asking why'd you step away from the league? Yeah,
well, I stepped away twice, right? So I stepped away early, and in 2007, I think it was. I had probably a couple different things going on in life. I don't know that I ever really sort of told anyone that. Here's the deal. I got married in 2001. We are still married. We've been married 24 years. We will be married 24 years in 2 weeks, September 23rd.
Congrats. Awesome.
Yeah. Married as a baby, a child bride from Utah, but we were still very young. I was 24 when I got married, right? And so let's say that around 2007, there were some bumps. There's always going to be bumps in those types of things. And that combined with the idea, and I think you guys, we haven't really talked about what I do in life, but 2007 was the first time that I engaged in a political campaign. It was a local political campaign for a friend of mine that was running for city council. And like he had the harebrained idea to run for council at large, which was basically a step below sort of like the mayor. There are 5 council members at large in Nashville that represent the entire city. And we were like 29 at that point. He decides that he wants to sort of like do this thing. And I decided like, hey, let me run that thing for you. And so that was that. And ultimately that would lead to a life where largely the campaign work that I had done was sort of side hustle type stuff. I am mostly I don't even know how to describe myself at this point, but for the most part of my professional career, I've been a communications and marketing guy, comms director for an ad firm here in town for 5 years, that kind of stuff. But work combined with family in 2007, basically, and the abruptness of the family part actually was why I just basically MIA'd. Whether or not I'm super proud of that. I'm not. No, actually, it is pretty regretful, actually. And so that leads to 2024. So Blake finds me 2024 and asks me back or whatever, and I come on. You saw me, if you were around for the month-ish or so that I was on Discord.
Yeah.
You saw me there and doing my best to kind of participate. But one of the things so in 2007 was my very first campaign. I'm pretty certain that 2024 is my very last campaign. The thing that I did last year was still living in Nashville. The previous year I helped the vice mayor get elected to a metro election, and then was the deputy campaign manager after that, just staffed into him to help the mayor win election. And so the thing that I kind of, I guess, realized after the fact was like, oh, hey, this, I don't know, almost 8 week period of time where they staffed me in after the vice mayor was already elected because she won in the primary and then he went to runoff, was that he was auditioning me for a much bigger thing that I did in 2024, which was to run a campaign, a ballot initiative campaign in Nashville to get a $2.3 billion transit initiative passed. And so the tricky part about that is Nashville had tried 2 times in the past to do that exact same thing and it failed both times miserably. In 2018, notably, this type of initiative lost 36 to 64. We were able to turn it around last year and win 66 to 34, which is fucking awesome, right? It was all of the things that I wanted it to do, and running an entire citywide campaign. It was a multi-million-dollar campaign that ultimately will pass a $3.2 billion transit initiative. Is awesome.
Wow. Nice.
But, I knew better, and I was kind of giving a heads up of like, hey, I really want to do this, and this is so exciting, and it's finally back, and I'm pumped about college football. But also, I did not have time. My last year was largely working something around 18-hour days, and so I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I'd set my alarm at 4 a.m. to get up because that would give me 2.5 hours worth of work before I just started putting out fires and it was the quiet time. And so, but again, fucked it up twice, did it exactly the same way, just kind of tried to figure it out, didn't quite make it. I did play a handful of games, and then it became all of the things. And then at that point, I'm just sort of like, oh man, I did this again. And I'm self-aware enough to know that hey, I kind of fucked that up again. And yeah, I don't know, there's an embarrassment involved with that too. It's just kind of like, hey, sorry about the first time I did that. I deeply apologize. Please, to accept my apology, if you will. And then to do it exactly the same way again, just sort of, I don't know, man. It wasn't ideal, but also second time around, well, both times around, honestly, as far as a personal life decision and why, completely justified. As far as how I went about doing it, completely the wrong way.
Well, here's the thing, Jeff. I think for the people on this podcast, you don't need to apologize. I mean, life is what it is. I still kind of get cracked up by some of the conversations that go on the live chat about a video game. And I always want to say, guys, it's a video game. It's literally a video game. You have life and issues to deal with. We all have new things. No need to apologize. What I think this has done is it has allowed the people in the NDL that don't know who you are to see why we are who we are, and that this thing is still going on. Now, it might not be the same. There's a lot of new people. It's never going to be the same, right? But the NDL is because of you, and you don't ever have to apologize for anything.
I appreciate that, Mark. I really do, and I absolutely hear what you say with it. The only thing that sort of lingers for me on that is that, you saw it, you would see it in the very first. I don't know. There was something that I sent over to Joe, and I was reading over the language and talked about the idea that it's not just about championships. It's not just about games. It's not even just about playing the right way. It's about the community of people that come together. And so the part I think that I regret the most isn't sort of opening up a spot that someone will definitely take. Michigan wasn't going to be hard to fill. It is the idea that sort of it was the community. It was the personal relationships. It was sort of and so that to me feels like apology necessary. Jeff, but also I completely appreciate what you're saying and it is very kind and generous.
I mean, I could just speak for the people. I still buy my cars from somebody from the NDL in Spidey.
Jeff knows Spidey.
Is he still selling cars in Alabama?
Yeah, I bought all my cars are from him and from Boaz, Alabama. C Nasty and Shell and my brother. We still talk to these guys. We've got Joe, who's on this podcast. My brother got him into this thing. You've got guys that have been around since season 5, whatever, that have kids that are now playing in this league.
Is Spidey's dealership still Dodge? I remember strongly considering whether or not I was going to get a Dodge Magnum from Boaz, Alabama, which Boaz, by the way, not too far from Nashville, but also super glad I didn't buy that fucking Hemi station wagon. But
like Jeff, it's like what we, the one thing, there's always this vets versus new guys thing. And the only thing I would say is, if anything for the vets, like to the new guys, it's like, this was such a community. It was, yeah, we disagreed with maybe the way you played, but you talked about it and you moved on. I think nowadays, because of social media, it's easy to express behind a keyboard and to be this big, bad, tough guy. But the NDL always, and you said it best, you could say, there's nothing else you need to say tonight. The NDL always was about community. It wasn't about winning championships. And that was one of the things that, for a guy that wasn't into video games, drew me to the NDL, was that it was about the community. And yeah, you're right. I had Marshall all the time. I'm like one of the worst coaches in the history of the NDL, but I've been in it since season 1, and I don't flip and give a care. It's about the community, and I hope the NDL is listening to this. It's more about the games.
You want to talk about one of my favorite things that wasn't my specific, whether or not I won the cup in season 2, or I look back at my notes. Apparently I was robbed in season 1 because there was a poll to get into the tournament or something like that. I totally forgotten that, but it is the idea though, Mark, like that you touched on, is that some of my very favorite people were also like some of the people who were the absolute worst at the game. And quite honestly,
touchdown. We got a cheers, Jeff. We
got a touchdown. Michigan State, baby.
Charles walked that in.
We got a touchdown, so we do a sip on every touchdown.
Whistle.
If it's a high-scoring game, Jeff Moe, you get a little buzzed.
Keep
so
going,
one of
Jeff.
the things that was, I guess, most telling to me is it wasn't what you were like when you won a game. It was what you were like when you lost the game, right? And when you weren't good at the game, and like, was it too much for you, and so you just quit and threw up your hands and couldn't take the losing, or were you like? Todd Stepanek, is T-Step around anymore? Has he ever?
Well,
that's a hot topic, but actually.
Okay, so anyways, let me tell you about 2005, Todd, is that he was super great at the idea that, like, he wasn't that great. He kind of knew that he wasn't that great, but he would just sort of like keep on coming back and playing the game and sort of like chin high and all of that stuff. And so and to the point where there was the one season, I think, where he like figured it out. It was the last season of the third season of that particular game. And I don't know, he got enough tricks in his bag that he was like stringing together wins and super excited about it. But Mark, you were always like a super generous guy, right? Like with the seasons that you did well and had dubs, like awesome. But also the absolute best attitude when you rolled off 5 in a row of L's, right? And to me, that was always like when you run it and when you're doing it from that side, it's one of the things. I mean, this is not a woe is me story, and it is absolutely a thankful thing. So I don't believe it to be thankless either. I've heard so many thanks. Super flattered with you guys even tonight. Is the idea though that you got to put up with a lot of bullshit, right? And there's a lot of weird whining and complaining by adult men about a video game, and sort of like you got to figure out how to contextualize that nonsense. But to me, the best guys were the ones that sort of like were low maintenance. Like, hey, you lost, and oh, hey, that guy may have been kind of like shitty about it, but also, what are we gonna do? And how are we gonna make this work? And how much of your stuff is just gonna bleed over into everyone else?
Jeff, this is great. Let's transition this into something. First, I want to say, when I was writing down and you're coming on, I wrote what I thought the NDL was, and I typed it out for me, and it says, I put, the NDL is a league that you created, Jeff, on sportsmanship, treating others with respect, enjoying competition, each other, and football, all while making long-lasting friendships. I think we miss that in our society nowadays of how do you compete with somebody and try to beat them and also respect them and treat them with dignity. I think we struggle with that as a society. And I think we struggle with that in the NDL. And we are at BB&B hoping to improve that. But two, we had a great question come on. Who was the top 5 list of who you hated to deal with as the leader of the NDL? That was the question for you.
I mean, right off the top, tattoo boy John Widener, who I think was here last year, who also, listening. By the way, knows that I am very fond of him as a human being. Mute his fucking Facebook page, but also very fond of him as a guy, and we always had great chats or whatever. But like, he could not stop himself from sort of like just being himself. He was only going to be him, and quite honestly, I was. As long as I sort of, and I don't use this word loosely, like as long as I allowed him to be in the league, because he was breaking rules. He was breaking the 35-point rule, which was a cardinal sin rule that you don't break this rule, get kicked out of league. And yet somehow the one time I figured out how to manage a situation where his 42-point win, because he decided to just run in the last second play at the end of the game or whatever. I just got everyone.
That was a big deal.
The other way on that one. He was far and away number 1.
Okay, so he's number 1. Now we got 4 more if you can figure it out.
So when I was talking to you on text just earlier today, Jeff, about Matasayu, it wasn't actually Swampy. It was a guy named Marion County. I don't know if you remember Marion County.
Yeah.
Is he still around?
He's still in. He's still in
the league. All right. Fucking hit me up, dude. Like, I loved that guy with his ridiculously low bass voice and like whatever nonsense that like 20 years ago of that guy was both sort of like a big giant pain in the ass and also like one of the funniest dudes to ever talk to. He would have been
he's a very good player, but he's had some issues in the NDL.
So there was a guy named Champ Dog. I don't know if you remember Champ.
Champ Dog, Jordan.
Is he still around?
No.
All right. So Champ was
didn't Champ turn into
type of guy, right? Who like when you line out rules, the idea behind rules isn't for who's there's a NASCAR pit guy like Smokey something or another who basically he is famous for just sort of like breaking all of the rules or for forcing NASCAR to make rules where there was a vacated nothing if there isn't a rule against it. Champ was one of those guys who would look at a rule book, right, and then treat it very literally that like if the rule doesn't say this thing, then I can exploit all of the things that aren't specifically delineated within the rules, to the point where I think at some point I added some kind of just ambiguous language, right? Some catch-all bullshit that was sort of like the spirit of the game or something like that, which is quite honestly what any of the rules were. In the very early stages, there was a lot of question as to whether or not rules would actually yield a result like that, and if it made sense to just go kind of like with a broader, more sort of like spirit of the game, because there wasn't an accepted singular style, and it was something that we kind of had to figure out in the year before NDL on that previous game, and then just kind of there were more than a handful of us that got together, and there was a guy named FSU, Noel certainly, and then like talk about Corey and Shell who loved those guys. It was the idea though that like it took a lot of effort, Mike, Wes, like all of these guys, to Fat Matt, you guys, to come up with what felt like ultimately the style of play that both fit some version of realistic sim, but also was accommodating for people. And the 35-point rule was the reason why that was a death penalty rule was, for me, respect for those people that aren't as good as you is the easiest thing in the world. And there is literally no reason for you to run it up with some dude. We are here playing an online game for approximately 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Like it's already going to be hell for that guy. Like honestly,
Jeff, here's what you're trying to say without saying it. The NDL is built on the guys that aren't very good at this video game.
Honestly, and so there was a lot of conversation very early about like, oh, hey, is this the best league? Are the best NCAA gamers in this league? Or like, oh, these two guys have sort of like there individual rankings or something on League Daddy that may have been able to identify individual players where, like, I would always say, like, I could give two shits about having the very best guys in the league. And quite honestly, the very best guys aren't going to have fun in this league, and they're not going to last long. I don't want to have the very best guys. I want to have the very best humans, right? I don't want to have the very best gamers. I want to have the very best men,
But
guys.
but
Have
Jeff,
you ever
I
had
mean,
a woman,
that's
by the way? So from
when you have 130 teams, you're not going to have all the best
female
guys.
that joined the league.
A female, did we? What?
I don't know. I'm asking. Like there wasn't when I was around. I wondered if the gender gap was ever bridged. There are a hell of a lot more girl gamers out these days. Did one ever make it into NDL?
Speaking of veterans,
See nasty.
what's up, boys? What's going on?
See nasty!
How's it going?
I just want to come make a cameo and just thank Jeff for setting the DNA for what we are, and I've spent endless hours of my life doing.
And quite honestly, like that is the exact way to say it, right? Set a foundation, establish the basis, the DNA, right? Because at the end of the day, it exists so much longer without me than it ever did with me, right? And so that, I mean, you and more than a handful of others, but also like specifically you, like you knew that how important you were to this league, even from the jump, right? And I yes, doing conference commish work, although if I remember correctly, and help me with this, you were also pretty reluctant 20 years ago to sort of like do that extra shit. I remember, you had to kind of be. I feel like I remember talking you into it one time. Just like, hey,
man, I didn't know what all that stuff was going on. I did my time on the farm, and I thought that was bullshit. I'm like, what's going on here? To wait around in this little chintzy league before I play with you kids? Like, this sucks.
Which is the best. But at the end of the day, though, like what you actually were, like you and Shell and Jeff and Mark, right? Like they're Rikio and even Trendon, like a handful of these guys, right? You talked about the community, Mark, and that to me was if you want to talk about the real win, the non-player best part to me was the fucking board, right? It was the thing that like I didn't know what we had until I saw that and the sheer volume of traffic and posts and sort of like the idea that like, oh, hey, there's enough volume here that I might be able to add ads to this thing.
That's
and actually make
if you ever thought about monetizing
Gen 1 Google ad revenue on.
So
on
what Jeff is saying, he monetized lived off of us for 3 years.
yeah, exactly. The money came pouring in, by the way. Just stacks and stacks. But it was that, right? It was the forum. It was the post. It was like the sheer volume. And that, to me, you talk about the community, just like the activity of that board, the fact that, like, do we remember? Like, so everything, I don't know if you remember this, everything was like basically NDL : and then something, right? NDL : golf, NDL : hoops. Right, sure. Or was it NDL : girls? There was because we were little boys then, right? There was a whole forum of sort of like, I don't PG-13 to it definitely.
I didn't partake in any of that.
But yeah, it was sort of like, oh, hey, here's a hot picture of Anna Kournikova.
Well, you knew you made it just real when I would meet random dudes from the internet, never knowing them, never talking.
Picking your ass up from LAX.
And driving, that's one story, but driving 6 to 7 hours to a mom and pop video game shop to get the game 2 days earlier than everybody else, just to be clouting on the forum saying, we got it, like with Noel and Shell, and driving in the middle of the night to drive to these random places with Wes and Dre and those guys. And
it's kind of crazy, Corey, when you think about it. So I actually ran across an email when I started looking for stuff today. I also went into my old Yahoo account and I just typed NDL. So like my very first email in NDL, or that has the use of the 3 letters NDL in it, was like first week of June 2004. And I'm sort of like talking with Big Rye about something or another. But one of the things I saw just it would have been a year later, right? So this was July of 05 when somehow we managed to crack the code on I mean, they are way more airtight about game drops and release dates, right, and stuff like that. it was a little bit wild west. If you found the GameStop where the manager somehow didn't know about embargoes, then you could get like, or it wasn't usually GameStops, right? It was sort of like the guy at Target who didn't know it's better. But like, I had an email. Apparently, the word got out that there was a spot in somewhere Alabama, also that was getting them, and so maybe it was. I don't know why Alabama guys wouldn't have gone to Alabama, but I have an email though of like, hey, there's word is there's a the game is already released in Huntsville or whatever.
We got a field goal, guys. So take a sip. No, we missed the field goal.
You missed the field goal. No.
Oh,
Don't start drinking just yet.
Hey, by the way, if the score holds at 7-0, then I'm going to hit this jackpot. Although we'll have to squint our eyes to realize that Michigan doesn't have 7. Yeah, the ability of, like, that specific Sunday or that specific summer and like those 2 weeks before the release of that game is so vivid in my mind about like, and quite honestly, I don't know that I've ever been as excited about a release for a game as I was in that small window of time. And it was, I'm pretty certain, just simply because of the success of the first season of NDL. Everyone just fucking loved it, and it was fun, and the community. And so we had done this year, and everyone got tired, right? Because we didn't actually have a rule that like, oh, we're going to do 3 seasons. It was just sort of like, okay, after the 3rd season, or at the end of the 3rd season, we're now in April or March Madness is on us. We're like, oh, I guess everyone's sort of tired of this shit. Let's not do a 4th one. And so then like, that's when 3 just became the right timing. But then it was sort of like, oh shit, this game comes out in the like 2nd week of July. Like, can we get it? And like, what does it take? And so,
Corey, I remember when you came in the NDL, you came on with like a storm. You were like a great passer. How did you find the NDL?
We found out from Shell. Yeah. So Shell's like,
okay,
there's this league. We found on League Daddy. And I know, sure, Jeff's still getting the royalties from that website. The League Daddy site that was out there. Then we came across on a forum and, we found out about the farm. And I was like, I don't want to sit in the farm. Like, what is that? Like, because I don't think you could get access to the main website if you're in the farm. And we're missing all the good stuff that was going on there. And I was like, well, we're never going to get in this league. There's too many good guys. And we were playing with these crappy teams. I'm like, all right, whatever. We'll just hang out here. And then all of a sudden, it came in bunches. Like 3 or 4 of us got the call. And Shell got the call first. And I was so jealous, thinking this guy's in the league. I'm not in the league. And I'm watching over his shoulder what's going on in the main forum. And then I finally got the call.
So the funny thing about that, Corey, is because I remember very well. Tell me if this has changed, by the way. Corey was good. Shell sucked. And so
it's way different now.
In 2004 or 5 or whatever. And so the reason Shell was able to get in is because, like, remind me, you were pretty good. And so like,
yeah, he was good.
Guys were exceptionally good. We had to take an extra long look. It was obvious that Shell could get in. He was terrible, and you definitely can't cheat and be this bad. And so
you were playing with the NDL ghosts, right? Remember those like the NDL ghosts that were admin members that would play.
Yeah, absolutely. What was mine was like Big Bad Bull, I think is what his name was, right? And I love to run with Vandy, and so yeah, but there were more than a handful of people, and also sort of like good luck trying to keep a secret with a bunch of sort of like 20-year-old dudes who are all sort of like snickering and winking and like, hey guys, it really does help. But if we sort of like, if everyone knows who the plants are, then like it kind of defeats the purpose. And so like this really does have a purpose. And also like stop trying to win so hard with your second fake team name and like going nuts or like someone I think it was Widener. He just like got way into creating a whole new persona for his separate AIM account for his fake farm account.
Yeah. No, it's funny you say that. I am dying to remember what my fake farm name was because I was a plant in there and it was the greatest time of my life being a plant.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know that. So like the farm stuff just didn't get archived. And so
no, I didn't.
I don't think we thought to know that like, oh hey, Glenn and League Daddy won't be here forever. Everything on the internet will be here forever, always, right? And so like no. It went away, but if we archive that stuff, I think we could see.
I've got Corey's history up on my screen right here, and I think he came in North Carolina, had a winning record, lost a couple seasons, and then Season 6, man, he was like gangbusters. Went 11-1 South Carolina, and then he got Miami. He won the NDL Cup. And
Wow.
went 13-0 with Miami, and that was like, dude,
Miami,
this
yeah,
guy.
absolutely, yeah, I remember that.
And-
Hey, by the way, did I see Beer Cop pop on the screen? Because I'm pretty certain Beer Cop was the guy that I reached out to in Alabama.
Yes.
Is Beer Cop Alabama guy?
Beer Cop was just on the show last week.
Good stuff. Yeah, Miami, Court. Yeah, was that Ken Dorsey? Who was the Miami team in that game?
It was before Dorsey. It was way before that. That was
All
like
after McGahee.
Yeah, it was those years when they had like the crazy defenses. It wasn't the Dorsey years, that's for sure. That was later.
Gotcha.
But no, I had Miami had a good run, but that's like I just want to go back to is coming up through the farm and then getting a taste of the NDL. It made it all worth it. And like I mentioned, is I'm still friends with Shell after 20 plus years. We worked together. We've been to each other's weddings. Josh, if you remember Noel,
sure.
He was like my best friend for many years. We hung out so many times in person. So the community piece of just meeting these guys, and I spent more time with some of you online, let alone in Vegas with Jeff and some of the other people than I do with most of the people I work with. And to have it come back, I was even hesitant. I listened to your story earlier. I'm like, I have 2 kids. I'm busy as hell. I'm coaching. There's all kinds of different things. And I didn't want to come back and not have the ability to keep up with it because I didn't want to do the wrong of what the NDL is. But now that I'm back, it's hard to ever leave again. It's just so good to be around guys and break away from the life pieces when you can. And I suck. I'm not anywhere near good as I was. And Shell actually became the GOAT for a while, won like 4 times.
Yeah. Now Shell.
Yeah, it's like one of the few things.
Now he's like the greatest there is, and some of the back of those days. But yeah, it's just amazing the names and people pop up.
Corey, we all think there's quite a people out there that think Shell plays about 15 to 16 hours of video games a day. Just so you know,
probably a couple hours short on that estimate.
Yeah.
Corey, you made an interesting point that I want to come back to a little bit, if I can. Is the idea of sort of like meeting people online and like the physical meetup and stuff like that. One of the things I think we take for granted now in our perma online world, in our ever online existences, and quite honestly, that like so many now of my personal and human relationships only exist digitally, is that it was a complete 180 from 20 years ago. Is the idea that like there wasn't a long, online was only about 5 years old total for actual sort of like broad access to it. We're talking late 90s is when the first version of the visual internet that I saw were like, oh hey, ESPN.com has pictures. But like there wasn't a long track record of people sort of like meeting strangers online, and quite honestly there was a stigma about it. It's like, oh hey, you met someone online, that's a little bit weird, right?
Yeah.
I guess, except for the fact that like, what's the difference between you and you online, you offline? It's like whether or not
we broke that mold.
Yeah, but I mean,
Vegas,
the
number
idea
one.
That people were willing to even do that because of the bond and because of the community and all of that stuff is like it now it kind of feels like, oh great, you met some people that you met online. Like shit, every date that I ever had is that, right? But 20 years ago, it just wasn't a thing, and quite honestly, there was a stigma against it that we sort of like you kind of were made to feel like
think that the NDL helped society and millions of people move forward in that direction, right? I remember
let me then correct what I was saying earlier. Like honestly, my true legacy or whatever that I'm most proud of is that NDL was the one to bridge humanity in online. So like that.
Amen, Jeff.
You're right, Jeff. You're right.
I think that online thing, it was the like-minded individuals, and then everybody has this intuition when you know someone online, if you will, or a forum or whatever it may be, and you may talk to them on AIM back in the day, you knew good people from good people. And when you're in the Joshes of the world and Shells and Jeffs, and you knew you were in good company there. I wouldn't meet probably Tattoo Boy and those people back in the day. I would only stick to certain people.
Corey, he's listening.
Is he on?
Hey, Jeff, Corey, Mark, do you remember when Tattoo Boy had the big stick and he like popped it on his shoulder and took pictures? You guys remember that? Oh, it was disgusting, dude.
He had a cyst?
Wow.
You guys remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He took pictures of it on the forum and he had like, it was popping it. It was disgusting. Tattoo Boy, you're listening. Jump in on that.
So while
He says
he's jumping in
girl.
on that, what I'll say is that he had one picture that he used online 20 years ago that was like a very young picture, even then, even 20 years ago, to where he looked kind of like, I don't know, a slightly thicker Freddie Prinze Jr. And I would always make the joke that he looked like Freddie Prinze, but
Yeah.
Too funny.
good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, boys. I gotta get to bed. It's past my
All
bedtime.
right, Corey.
Corey, it was great having you, bro.
Thank you for everything you've done. Hope you can free up your life and join us one day again. But if not, I wish you the best. And
Yeah,
thanks for this amazing thing we've done, and we'll keep it going as long as we can.
absolutely. Now, life is a lot slower and easier these days. I'm after the campaign, I started getting involved with the tech startup and sort of like prop tech. I don't think I'm going to do politics anymore. And the exciting family news for us is that after 30 years of living in Nashville, Becca accepted the job as CEO of the Naples Humane Society in Florida. So we are literally moving to Naples in October for the first time.
Beautiful area.
Oh.
You'll love it.
I literally have been one time, and it was like 4 weeks ago when we did a site visit, and so like it seems cool, but also it seems very Florida.
It's very Florida. It's very old people. So enjoy this downtime. And
Fair
enjoy
enough. Well, quite honestly, like who am I kidding? I am old people too.
That's right.
So, anyways, see Nasty.
Right,
See you, brother.
Guys.
See you again.
All right.
Man, there we go. Hey,
Joe, do
we're
we have
update 14
14
right
nothing.
now.
Sparty on, boys. Sparty on.
Man, oh man.
Hey, Joe. Joe, you there? Up there, big dog? I had the chance to sit down with an offensive lineman from Michigan this last week.
What'd you say?
Number 58, Giovanni El-Hadi.
Big boy.
He has 34 pancakes and 0 sacks allowed.
Jeez.
He told me his favorite movie of all time. A lot of the NDL guys love this movie. Was Happy Gilmore 2.
I don't know about that, but okay.
I questioned him, and he said, "I have a 2 handicap, Jeff Daddy. That's what I do." So number 58, Giovanni El-Hadi. Look out for when Michigan gets the ball
We'll
back.
be watching him then. Jokers, what do we got lined up next?
I'm going to get some ice lined up next. I'll be right back.
Let's do it.
Great bourbon, by the way, Jeff. Cheers.
Thank you.
Man.
Is that like ice, like Michael Irvin ice, or Jeff?
I
or
don't
is it
know.
like ice. No, I know it's ice.
I don't know if we want to know that.
I just watched that Cowboys gambler documentary, which was fantastic. I want to know the other side of the Michael Irvin scissors story. Anybody out there?
Yeah, it would be interesting to know that.
Mm-hmm. If Michigan State scores here, this thing is over.
This thing is long. Yeah, this thing is over.
If Freak can get home to if it's 17-0, Freak comes back to win the game.
Can't get in. Can't believe he can score at the end of the half there. That was insane. Got stuffed 4 times on the goal line.
All right, Joe, I'm trying to line up our next guest. He's a former champion.
Oh,
this league.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on. I don't know if he had bought tequila for this event, and so I'm trying to make sure that he's going to be able to come on to this show.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chip. A lot of running there.
Yeah. I love that Chip is into the history of the NDL. You don't see that a lot. Not a lot of guys are not wanting to know the history. And I like that.
By the way, here is the shirt. So there were 2 shirts.
Oh, there it is.
Cafe Press. This is one of them. So I based this one on Nintendo's 10-yard fight and sort of like a 8-bit deal. And then the other one was sort of a version of the first logo. I dug these up the other day because we're moving. I have a collection of T-shirts that I've had for I've got this awesome T-shirt for DARE, drug abuse resistance education, Brighton High School, that I love, right? And for the longest period of time, it was a mildly ironically worn shirt. Obviously, I'm an older man now, but there are a handful of T-shirts more than a handful that I'm going to now sort of like, I don't know, turn into one of those T-shirt quilts, something that old people do, and sort of like I have no purpose for them. They sit in a tub, but like, hey, might as well make them worthwhile.
I bet you somebody on this in here would buy that shirt off you. I'm sure somebody would.
I love this thing, man. I'm putting it on a quilt.
A quilt. I love it.
If someone really wants the design, I'm sure we can throw something. I can find the design file, and we can find someone on Etsy that'll press them off that are in a much better shirt, right? So one of the things I learned shortly after this is less Gildan, more ring spun.
Jeff, speaking of Florida, there's 21. So guys, right here, glasses up. I spoke with Trendon today, and it's been a while. He is currently working at a big-time bar in Boca Raton, Florida, which is, I just looked it up, 1 hour and 54 minutes from Naples.
Yeah, it's on the other side of so the what was it, the east side of the state, right? That's Miami, It's Boca, it's West Palm, it's Fort Lauderdale or whatever. That's where like all of the action is. And then the Gulf side is a much slower, snowbirdy place, but also sort of like he was like the New Jersey guy, right? That's where Nebraska fan from New Jersey who ended up in Florida, I think. Am I getting those things right?
Yeah, he just moved down there.
Nice. Thank God I have all of the shit stored in my head. I also remember him sort of like screaming on the mic. Like I don't know if he ever sort of like figured out the wonders of, you know.
He and I got really close during the Vegas 1 meetup.
All right.
Because
how many were there?
I think there were like 15 of us. He needed
how many? So there was Vegas 1. Were there multiple Vegas meetups?
I think there were 2 or 3.
Nice.
But on the first one, he needed to deliver an envelope to his boss's boss, who was the owner of a like strip club bar in Vegas. And nobody wanted to go with him. And I'm like, I'm in. So me and Trendon took a high-level limousine into this place, and he delivered this envelope, which was, I think, about $25,000 of cash. And he was very scared. And I remember telling Trendon, I said, you and I are boys after this. If anything goes down, I'm running.
So I, for 5+ years, I was comms director at an ad firm here in Nashville. And one of the things that we did, one of our main clients was Kansas City Barbecue Society. If you're familiar with competition barbecue, basically KCBS is the NFL of competition barbecue, and we were their agency. And so one of the things that my agency sort of really got into, and as comms director, so I was in charge of all things like content and marketing, and I had a PR team and PR and social messaging and that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that I would like to do was to sort of like tell the agency like, oh, hey, I've got to go to the Kansas City Royal because I just can't create content or talk about this thing or gather content or promote it if I can't see it myself, right? And so I would just sort of like get them to pay for me to go to these cool food related events. And the agency just got more and more into the food world up until the point where the CEO of the agency decided to create his own IP and created a thing called the World Food Championships, which still exists today. 7 category, 150 competitor live fire food competition where like burger ends up at the final table against best in show, basically burger against barbecue against chili against sandwich against whatever. And so the World Food Championships was based out of Vegas for the first 3 years of its existence, and the last 3 years I was at the agency, and so I spent a ridiculous amount of time working out of Vegas. And one of the things that would come up from time to time would be a sort of like a gentleman's club excursion in Vegas and to like check these things out. What I will tell you is like there is some shady ass dealings going on in the Vegas strip club world, and if you want to sort of like open your eyes to some stuff, check out like Google reviews of like the most notable ones or the ones in downtown and stuff like that, a little bit even of the shittier ones. Like you will see people telling stories of how basically these places held them hostage, shook them down for 20 grand. Like sort of like, hey, the thing I would never want to do is to sort of like get sideways with reality inside a Vegas strip club and get sort of like shaken down for a mortgage payment.
It was funny, right? Because like we went, and the head bouncer of that club was
wow.
We got touchdown. The head bouncer
down.
Michigan State again. Wow, gotta give that up.
You see that the ref blocked the DB.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Cheese.
So so Jeff, the head bouncer of that club ended up being a friend of mine who played football at San Diego State, and he lived in the same apartment complex upstairs as me, and he became a good buddy of mine. You know, we would partake in some fun activities together, and I saw him, just a big Samoan guy, and I was like, oh, so we hug, and he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm with this guy. And he goes, oh, so then he took care of me and make sure I was safe. And Trendon was safe. And Trendon was like, dude, this is awesome. I'm like, yeah, just by happenstance of like,
that is awesome.
Yeah. So everything worked out for Trendon. What's that?
I said I need no more Samoans. I sent Joe actually. So in my hard drive of many things, I also had Jeff Daddy's headshot from the team, and then one action shot of you sort of like doing a dribble penetration move or whatever. Joe, it was literally just sitting in my files, and so it exists.
No, none of that.
Yes.
Michigan with the big play over the middle.
It is in an email.
Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Yo.
BT Run and Gun is ready to join.
Okay.
Nice.
Chase
is ready to join.
But Jeff, Trendon is going to listen to this tonight. He really wanted to be there, but he's working. So just so you know.
You know what? Shout out Trent. Always, I mean, you want to talk about those people that are also headaches, but were kind of like the worth it headaches. Trendon is almost the poster boy for it. In fact, I remember on multiple occasions sort of like trying to figure out how I could talk Trendon back into it, how I could talk the headache back into my life, right? Because he also was like 20 years ago was a pretty volatile dude who sort of like wore his heart on his sleeve. What are the nice ways that we can frame it as adults or whatever? Like an emotional guy and like screams on the mic. And so like, yeah, he would get angry with the game right and break controllers and stuff like that.
Yep.
Again, I hope that whatever wonders of pharmacology exist have sort of found their way to Trendon to help him chill out, or he's found his own personal zen.
He texted me today when we were texting back and forth that he would like to make an appearance back in the NDL.
I am, by the way, when I look over to the left, I have Twitch chat on my TV, and so it's not in front of me, but appreciate Kegerators, great stories note, and of course, at all points, appreciate Freddie Prinze Jr. Regardless of whether or not he has a completely awful and backwards worldview. We can't be perfect, I think is what it is. It's from Ohio. What do you expect, right? Like there's literally the youth of today have defined bullshit by just calling it Ohio. So what do we learn from that?
Which Twitch are you on here, Jeff? We have multiple Twitches of you tonight.
I don't know. The one that I'm on.
Is that FloJo?
No, Online Dynasty.
Online Dynasty. There you go.
So Florence Griffith Joyner also Twitch streams and big NDL fan.
That's Joe. That's you, bud.
Joe, that's got to be Joe.
Hopefully,
Joe, have you got Chase ready to go?
I sent the link. He hasn't jumped on.
Okay.
Typical Chase. BT Run and Gun. Talk about one of those guys that was right on the bleeding edge of whether or not this is cheese or not.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
He was.
I wish I was really right on the edge of cheese. That would have been I was good.
Only the best.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
Yep.
Big question. Are you ever going to make an appearance back in the NDL?
That's a good question. So like, no. It really is a great question because like, and quite honestly, I don't know why I didn't think about whether or not this question would come up to have an actual legitimate thought about it before sitting here and you getting to watch me think about it. Like, I would love to. I really would. And quite honestly, my schedule is so much better than it was before. And the handful of games I played Tattoo, right? I played Rikio, who also a great guy, but big fan of Dave. And sort of, I was texting earlier, like, Dave was the first guy that I ever knew that was sort of like betting tens of thousands of dollars on whether or not a field or an extra point was going to go in, right, in a Super Bowl, like something that just didn't make any sense to a 20s-ish year old version of me. But I had good experiences with games last year in the handful of games I was able to squeeze in, but also I mean, I don't want to be a third-time loser, and I'm not necessarily setting myself up to just sort of like fucking crash out again. I don't know. I haven't even picked up this year's game. It is something that I would consider, and honestly would love to be part of again, and even be considered. What I should also just do, because I don't. This isn't a. Back in the day, 20 years ago, you had to be a member of the league to be able to participate in the forum. I'm pretty certain the Discord would allow for me just to simply say bullshit in it without having to own a team, right? So I should do that first and foremost, right?
There's Chase. He's muted.
Chase!
Yeah.
Hey, fellas. How's it going?
Chase, when I said, I don't know if you heard me or if you were logging on, I made a reference to you being sort of like right on the bleeding edge of, it's 20 years ago, right? Like,
Yeah.
When we start, to me, every time I do this now, apparently I'm self-fascinated with the idea that like, oh shit, I've got a bunch of bullshit like stored in the corner of my brain about your play style on a video game from 20 years ago. And so I don't know. How would you agree that like my assessment of sort of like, oh hey, there's a guy that like he was so good, it sort of like pushed some of the levels?
Oh, absolutely. Awesome. I mean, I think I'm remembering, you know, because this is like a different era of playing, but it was a time where I think I was one of the few, and I think there's a bit of a backstory of I always really was fascinated with defense and playing with like the cornerback. And I would find, you know, oftentimes like teams with guys that I know played both ways at times. So like one of my favorites, like Boston College, you know, had like Will Blackman who played both ways. And that the game really wasn't designed for that. But you know, the backstory there was, you know, I had roommates at the time that played for the, you know, on the football team at Tech. So we were always like talking about defense and schemes. So I learned about boundary corners, and this is back when like the defense was actually pretty relevant. So I found, it was pretty fascinating to find like those players that would challenge the AI at times, but it was more about just user control. So I could just find like a 80 overall offense and then an 80 plus defense and compete with an athlete. So
that is exactly right. And so I'm now Big Mike was obviously one of my favorite guys in the entire league ever. And like he also was super generous with his time, because I'm at the point where I get like deep into running the league, right? It's Mike, it's Wes. There are a few guys that I'm just sort of like leaning on to honestly coach me up. Like I force them to get on voice chat with me and sort of like talk me through like, oh, hey, what do we need to know? What do I need to see? Or like, hey, you know, when the two guys walk up like this, that's kind of EA's dead giveaway that is a man defense. If you see man, then you should put the ball into an out pattern, right? Or a hook. And then you can sort of like beat the man. If you see that they're staying in zone, then you're going to want to go hit a post, right? Like it is the most simple things or whatever. But the idea that like one of the things that Mike, they called them at the time, at least stick players, right? So there's guys that were actually really good on the stick, because that's how, you know, you manage those corners and stuff like that. And Mike was like one of the best.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, whereas, and this was always one of those weird things that are now that I'm remembering about that period of time, is whether or not you should be required to manually switch to the man on the play, right? And because quite honestly, like if I just let the computer do it, kind of he's going to be better at it than me. Maybe I'll just sort of like, you know, I'm middle linebacker. I'm locked in on middle linebacker, or like, even like DNs, right, where cheese, whether or not you could do it. But like Mike was so good about doing exactly what you're saying, which is switching into that corner, like wanting you to like, throw the ball at me, motherfucker. Let me, let me go snatch that.
Yeah. It reminds me there's times where, because it was very different. The game didn't have as many camera angles as possible. So like when you figured out like you're kind of like set up, you knew your team well enough, and especially with the cornerbacks, that you could bring them in like more like half of the field, and all of a sudden you have kind of like a roaming safety, which just in many ways takes away half the field if they have enough speed or height. And it was like one of those, again, things are on the edge of, well, I'm technically playing a coverage, but if there's no one over here, like I got to go find work. And I think the other part too, if you had someone that was really good with like the hit stick was just, remember back then, like it was an innovation. Like we think Ray Lewis essentially brought the idea of like defense needs to have an impact that bled over into the other franchises. And then it went so far that basically everything would just shake every time you hit somebody. Like it didn't even matter if like the corner was, 5'10", 160, he was going to lay somebody out. So there's just these little parts of like how the games were made at the time where, if you weren't playing the traditional way or a standard way, you could find differences. Oh, got some special guests over here. These people didn't exist 20 years ago, but
No, you're absolutely right, and just like that was the separator for a lot of guys, or like whoever the really really good guys were. If you could manually switch into, and you could be a stick player just like you were, and sort of like be a boundary corner and to like go get that ball or whatever, like those guys were always at the top. There were other guys that could figure out how to sort of like, I don't know, edge the system or whatever. But like, and maybe there was one other type, which was just sort of like a weirdly, rigidly fundamental. Like there was a guy, he was an Iowa owner, Carl Wayne.
Yes.
Carl Wayne.
Carl Wayne's not around still, is he? Like Carl Wayne to me feels like, I don't know, he was like the most by the book academic sort of like Iceman, right? Like the idea that like he never makes a mistake, and that to me is what I remember out of Carl. He was just sort of never anything flashy, never any crazy stick stuff or whatever. He just literally never made a mistake, waited for you to make one, and then would just exploit that.
Carl Wayne, that guy. Holy smokes, that's a name.
That's a good
Carl Wayne 01, I think maybe.
Carl
Iowa.
Wayne 1. I'm looking up his right. He was 186 and 50, one national championship and one NDL Cup championship. Season 1 Iowa 11-0, USC 11-0.
Well, the people like it gives me callbacks now. It makes me feel like when I see like I'm say the new generation, but like a Jiggy and a Smitty.
By the way, so
like the way they're playing.
I want to hear about the new guys.
Well, the way some of these new teams play, that reminds me of like Fogtown or like Walker, like these guys who came in and were just like a problem, right? They were just, it was something about either their scheme or the teams they were playing with, but it seemed like they were just really dialed into like their script at the time. And I just remember this battles at times where it's like, okay, this guy has the stick skill, but also has like the talent on the other side of the ball. So something has to give. And I felt like turnovers were always the differentiator in every game, right? If you made the mistakes or if the EA gods didn't bless you that day, then it would go a different direction.
Yeah.
So if I can ask you guys a couple questions, I'm curious about sort of like this new generation, or like does the idea of a community-based NDL sort of like resonate with? Is there a very specific line or style of line of delineation or style difference between the young pups and sort of like old gen dudes? Like is it noticeable? What do we see? How many are there, by the way?
50-50.
Yeah. It's interesting, Jeff. It's you get the old grumpy veteran guys that think we're back when Jeff Moe was running the league, and you get these new generation guys that are so cutting edge video game guys that are super, super good. Like if I played them, it could be 100-0 in a blink of an eye, and I would have no idea all the adjustments they're making. I literally have no idea what they're doing. But I think the community is there. But I think in time, just in how we live now, it's more confrontational than I've ever seen, and it's easy to be confrontational. I don't know, Chase, what do you think? I mean, I would say the gameplay, the guys are better because there's so much more stuff going on, and they've grown up. Chase, what did you say, behind the sticks, as Jeff said? Where myself at 51, like, I could literally care less about making this adjustment. But it's interesting, Chase, you would be good to touch on this because, I mean, of the guys in the room, you've won a championship. You're a guy that everybody knows is a legend, and I'll say that, and I mean that. And Jeff Mo knows who you are in terms of that stuff. What do you think?
It's funny. I find myself like, well, if this was back in my day, we wouldn't have YouTube to tell me where all the opportunities are, or some creator who spends hundreds of hours in advance playing a game. And I think it's more about, like, there's the speed of information that's available all the time. Is like probably the biggest difference, right? So it's more information. I think the other part we don't talk enough about is that the game is a living game, right? So I love the fact that the game changes and updates. I mean, back when Virginia Tech was a football school, I felt very different. Now it's more of a basketball school. I'm like, we're going to be in the 70s before, I never thought that was possible. But the fact that the game changes so much, it comes back to, like, do you have the most recent information to, play, right? So it's like imagining, like, I always remember that, usually by, like, the third season of our leagues, everything was just very, like, tight. Because everyone has, pretty much, they know each other's play style. They know the opportunities out there. So, like, the game, you could just see the margins of victories always get tighter in that third season. Here, I feel like it gets wider as we get further along because, I don't think guys have, so many excessive hours to play. And to your point, the game has only added more layers of customizations and changes, and I think it's given so many more tools for people to make adjustments where, if you're not someone who just loves, like, someone who I love watching at times, a good friend over the years is Vegas. He clicks through his menu so fast, like, half the time I'm not sure if he's actually, like, subbing anyone out or actually making an adjustment. It just feel like he's just going through his menu so fast. I'm like, is he making adjustments? Is it a tweak? Like, everyone's changing their screen so quickly. I'm like, man, probably like 70% of my plays, I'm literally coming to the play with just mentally how I'm going to run it, not going to make 3 or 4 adjustments. But I think this is where we talk about, like, for the most part, most of the rules have stayed the same, where I don't think it's more of a rules not catching up with the product, but I think it's, again, just the product is more advanced. And add that you also have, which I think this generation does not appreciate enough, that we have crossplay. Like, we didn't have, like, everyone had to have a PlayStation, like, back when we played, right? If you're an Xbox guy, you didn't play with us. And so that's a religion war in which we still live by in many ways. So I think now that we're just getting just a wider pool of talent, it doesn't surprise me that, some guys, where I see on Discord, it's like guys who are playing lots of lobby games, like lots of them, but then they can find a way to still play sim, like, in our games, which is just impressive. So, gotta give credit to just, kids these days, this generation is just more advanced.
You raised an interesting point there. Oh, first, the idea of PlayStation versus Sony is dead on. And if you remember back that when PS2 was transitioning to PS3, like, we didn't have basically now the 5-year cycle of just next gen is coming and everyone is mentally prepared for it. And there was a pretty active conversation about whether or not NDL should just stay on PS2 or sort of, like, move over. And sort of, like, some guys were just adamant, like, I'm a PS2 guy and I'm never even buying a PS3 or whatever. And also, like, that first version of the PS3 game was trash. And so, like, they didn't, like, there was a less of an expectation for EA or whatever that they could figure out their shit to where, like, they were content to put out a garbage game and just sort of, like, live under the idea of, like, well, whatever, shrugs. It's the first game. We'll get better later. You just buy this one first, come back next year and you'll love the next one then. But even beyond that, one of the things that I remember so vividly, and I would just drone on about it too, so anyone who goes back to that time with me or whatever, hear me about it, was the idea that, like, spectator mode is what I refer to it, right? That is what EA never came up with, spectator mode, but what we do have now is obviously what we are doing right now, which is definitely actively deep diving into this game. And so, but it would be the idea. And I remember thinking back like 20 years ago and thinking like, oh man, I wish there was a way that I could watch full games of the guys that I was playing. And basically I apparently just had enough time and life availability that I was willing to grind tape for fucking video games. And I just desperately wanted the ability, if I could just do that, then I would spend all of the hours of my life looking at what my next opponent does and then figuring out their tendencies and only just playing against that. Or even just for the championships, right? Like the idea that we could broadcast the NDL championship game and that everyone could sit around and actually watch the thing, as opposed to what we did, which was like, I vividly remember us just all sitting in a name group chat and like people talking or whatever. And eventually we would hear the score, but by what was going on, but no one knew what was happening or whatever. And so like this to me, Twitch, like the ability to add this in and like such a fun added piece that like I always desperately wanted for them, because everything again was about the idea of sort of like community and interaction and the ability to just sit around and watch other people play games. I got my 2 in every week. Also, like I would have loved to just sit around and watch people who I knew were really good at this thing do it. And also, oh, hey, by the way, for the person who had to kind of like settle the disputes and stuff like that, so much about everything was the idea, like Chase, for you, it was the idea to me that like, and the thing that I would struggle with, I don't know that I would ever really talk about it, was the idea that like there at times, if you're just too good, like there is just a strong conversation about whether or not that guy's cheating to be that good. And it's difficult, right? Like, because you're talking about a bunch of guys who on some level, regardless of whether or not they lose all their games, still think that they're the best. And like that piece of like, what is actually outside of the bounds of what should be acceptable gameplay and what was just sort of like, hey man, he's better than everyone else, and like you gotta fucking suck it up, like you gotta own the idea, like you are the best, and this guy
Jeff,
is
you bring up a great point, because I vividly remember when no one could stop my passing attack. I think I'm the all-time leader in passing yards in a season. And you sent me an email, UCLA. You sent me an email and you said, I'm getting complaints that nobody in the league can stop you. And I responded like, hey, and we talked about it. Yeah, I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, no,
I think like 7 guys said, hey, this Jeff Daddy guy is the best passer I've ever played against. And I said, I don't know. It's whatever. Anyways.
And that was the thing. No, you're absolutely right. And there were a handful of guys out there, and quite honestly, some of it for me, and again, I so much of that for 27-year-old Jeff or whatever was the ability to just kind of like, I had to go with my gut. Like I knew that you were a good guy, and quite honestly, I knew that you were a good guy, and that you didn't, well, like, you know, tons of fuck yeahs or whatever. Like you were just there to have fun, and quite honestly, because of like that attitude, though, right? Like the idea that somehow you're sitting around, sort of like, you know, grinding your knuckles and trying to figure out how to be like super deceptive, or like, you know, or even the idea that kind of like, if you were the people that I knew that I didn't have to really worry about, are the people that I knew sort of like would be bothered if they heard that people thought they were cheating, right? Because that at that point, then that speaks to where your heart is, and sort of like so much about that 20 years ago was kind of like trusting my gut. And in the situations where kind of like, hey, a couple people are making this complaint or whatever, I don't really believe it. Oh, there's the Paul Bunyan trophy. Like I didn't know Sparties could hold that thing.
Hey.
The idea ultimately just came down to like, hey, trust your gut, trust what you know. I played you, right? Like I would play guys and sort of like, hey, I know other people just don't like to lose, because that really was what so much of it was about, was trying to interpret like who was a sore loser and who was actually a bad winner. And so like,
because that year I think I only won like 4 games.
The Ball brothers, Chase, were they like the DNs in that team?
No, but Chase, dude, this is awesome. Joe, I think we've got to get Freak on, and Do you think he's going to come on after this loss? What do you think?
Yeah, he'll be here.
Hey, Chase, first off, I want to say you and I have been friends for a long time. I always feared playing you. I was scared to play you. I still am. But the nice thing is you and I have had a great friendship. That's what the NDL has been about. I respect you. I love you, dude. You and I talked a lot during the fires. I was super nervous about all that stuff. You know, I was always texting you, dude, you good, you good. You're probably getting annoyed by that. But it's nice having Jeff on, but it's also nice having guys that have made what the NDL what it is. And it doesn't matter what you're doing now. The NDL is because of guys like you. And we appreciate you for coming on the show. And I was disappointed that I haven't seen you take a tequila shot that you promised me you were going to take. Come on. Come on. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. But Chase, man, listen, if there's anything about tonight, it's about the history of the NDL. And it doesn't matter whatever happens. You are one of the best that has ever done it in the NDL. And we are honored to have you on the show. And I know part of having Jeff on was having some of the legends on, and that's why we had you on. So we appreciate you, brother, and we love you, bro.
Thank you. No, I appreciate all of it. You know, some quick story I'll share on the way out here, being, you know, in a lot of ways so much way coming full circle, because we talk about like 20 years, like we time travel, like life was so different. You know, my journey to discovering the NDL was a really simple one. It was, you know, jumped on as soon as the game came out, you were jumping on, playing in the lobbies as much as possible. And I started seeing names more often. And then after a while,
That's right.
yeah. And then, and really this was like, I was somehow, someday I discovered League Daddy, and I was like, League Daddy, like, what is this? And it's like all these leagues, different sports. And then I kept seeing some of those names I saw on the leaderboards, like leaderboard here. It's a funny story. Like D Kane is like one of the first people I ever played online. Like, and that was by purely accident. Right. So then to see him on a League Daddy forum, I was like, okay, maybe I'm looking the right direction. And there's been many leagues joined in, and then it was always like and back then, you know, the India had a huge waiting list. Like, it was like, how does this one league have 100+ real people and then like 50 people on a wait list trying to get, like, what is this about? And I remember like getting my shot one day, getting to playing in the farm, and
the farm. Season 10 was your first year, right? Season 10,
I mean, so it took me, and this is like going back to like the console generation.
Yeah.
You know, that was a huge win for me, because it's like, great, less people will have this new console. I'll maybe have a shot at finally getting in. And it worked out that way. And for those who actually knew, you know, and it was funny because they're like, oh, this guy, he plays too much or he's cheating. Like, at the time, I had an internship with EA Sports. So I had all the consoles. So it was actually like part of my job to play the games all the time. So it was like a little bit of an advantage, but at the same time, like when PS3 came out, I had a day zero. So I was ready to go. And when it got called up, and there's another full circle moment here is, you know, I remember like getting to play with, it was Kent State. That was the team that fell to me. Kent State, Julian Edelman, great at a quarterback. Like, and I got destroyed that season in so many different ways. And it became like a huge, like, this is what it's about. Like, you're supposed to start somewhere and you'll end up somewhere else. And I think the point being is, like, enjoy the journey. And I enjoyed the forums. I enjoyed just poking fun at Black Crows. Never met the guy, but the fact that he had Virginia Tech and was not willing to give him up, like, I cringe going back and reading those forums of like, yeah, I was really thirsty to get my team back then. And then before you knew it, years started passing. So we joke about, and you know, my wife's giving me the cue of like, wrap it up. She was at the cusp of like, when she and I had just met, it's like, what are you like so focused on? I'm like, I got this game tonight. It's a championship game. I'm streaming on Justin TV, and like, it's important. And she's like, what?
She's like, yeah, hurry it up.
Everything else has got to wait. Yeah. So, you know, my life path might have been completely different if Twitch would have been around earlier. But all to say,
you're the man, Chase. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Thank you guys.
You know,
I really appreciate you guys. Real.
Yeah, yo, Chase.
Hey, Chase,
I'll see you next week, man.
This year, Newport Beach.
Okay. Where?
Newport Beach.
Let me know.
We'll talk.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Yo, Chase.
All right, freak. I see you sandbagging over there. I know you got me here real soon. You got everyone
I'll
else.
see you.
Cool. You don't have me.
I'll see you next week, man. I'll take another L. Don't worry.
Right.
With the way this season's going.
Chase.
All right, guys. You guys take care.
Later, bro.
Cheers.
What's going on, guys?
Freak.
What's up?
It's
man.
interesting, Mark. We have the original Michigan owner and now the new Michigan owner.
Jeff Mo, I'll be the last Michigan owner. This is the last year for me.
You know what's even funny, Jeff and Jeff Daddy and Jokers and Freak? I was a season 1 Michigan State owner. So this was crazy how this thing worked tonight.
No,
that's
kidding.
crazy.
I didn't remember that. So that's fast. Freak. At the end of the day, the luck of the draw on the Michigan team with an unproven quarterback is sort of like, some of it is, what does EA want you to be able to do with this team, and some of it also is just kind of also can't be a very forgiving schedule. Conference is stacked with powerhouse teams, so I appreciate it.
EA screwed the Michigan 2 years in a row, man. There's no receivers whatsoever. There's no true offense. It's true a run game. And yes, you have Bryce Underwood, he's the upcoming freshman. He should be great within the next couple of years, but it's very hard with his throwing mechanics and trying to get to the open receiver. He's working on it.
We all know that the EA guys were a bunch of Ohio fans anyways, and they just lived to, one, they screw Michigan in the rankings, but two, they just can't get enough about putting those beautiful bastards on the cover of the game. So it
100%.
feels like it's some sort of weird fetish. So
that is 100%. And CG was an Ohio State fan, so you know how that works.
Well, somehow he managed to avoid
that. That's why he wanted that last touchdown.
Fair enough.
Freak, here's the thing. Forget the game, because I know it means a lot to you to win and lose. That stuff is big, but you've got the guy that created the NDL. Any questions for Jeff Mo? Because he's a big time Michigan fan, so this is cool that you're on. And
I need that shirt with my name on the back.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I saw it where I think Nidler, who, by the way, I have not mentioned Nidler at all today. An amazing job at, when I came back last year, just to see sort of his ability to kind of do all of these things. Obviously Blake has been around for 20 years and doing a ton of things as well, but there are a handful of guys that truly do that deserve the extra little shout out or whatever. 100%. I'm going to get you this logo, Nidler, and you can get it up in the thing so we can have it. I love a good throwback shirt. So I also have, by the way, I don't know if they still exist or if this exists in the archives, but I sent it over to Joe earlier. Apparently, I decided that I was going to rotate through logos the first few years, and so the very first logo is a terrible Photoshop looking logo.
Joe, do we have that logo? Joe
is dealing with production for some odd reason. I don't know what's going on there. Too many viewers.
But I'll try to figure out. I am much better at all of the Adobe Suite now, so I can rasterize or vectorize all of those rasters and sort of send over the original logos as well, just for throwback's sake. But awesome. What is, by the way, Freak? Your everyone's doing their entree point into the league. I'm curious about yours. When did you come in?
Yeah.
So it's funny. I didn't come in until season 22, which I got in with Kugnix. I played Madden Wars with him back in the day. And I got to say, in regards to this league, I remember PS2 or PS3 was the first? No, PS2 was the first internet one, if I'm not mistaken. I used to see NDL in the chat room, and I'm like, I'm trying to enter. No. How can I enter? Nothing whatsoever. It took me up until Coog randomly brought it up. Oh yeah, you know what? If you want to play NCAA, just go to this website and I'll vouch for you. I'm like, after all these years, season 22 was 2012, if I'm not mistaken, or I think it was a Trent Richardson. No, he was I think Trent Richardson was on the cover when I first joined. So I always wanted to get in. I played in leagues ever since I was in high school, back when I was 16, 17. So that's when I first started, getting into sim ball. I knew the little cheesy stuff, but I actually wanted to actually play against competitive people and wanted to.
If you were applying in PS2, you were applying to me, and
it was a
now
chat
I'm
room.
sitting here feeling
It
guilty
was-
that I didn't get you in before. But were you in high school then at that point? Because I would, in the idea like you're getting hundreds and hundreds of applications in. One of the very first things that I just sort of like did was easily age discriminate. Like, oh hey, sorry.
Oh, he's a teenager. He ain't good for this league.
Exactly.
We have, by the way, we have a few 15-year-olds or 16-year-olds in this league now.
Nice. I'm sure they're the worst.
Yeah,
but nah, I didn't realize.
Go buy them some alcohol.
I didn't realize what website to go to at that point. All I used to see was NDL and chat room pop up. But the problem was it was always password links, so you never was able to get it. So,
and one of the things that I thought VT was talking about was the idea that like there were also a handful of people that added NDL to their usernames, right? And so like the greatest way to advertise for the league or whatever is to start seeing it. I mean, you see it now online. You're like, oh, at TTTV or whatever. They're just repping their Twitch channel, right? Like, hey, come be one of my 5 viewers or whatever. But
you remember all those Madden, like back in the day, the Madden leagues where all these clans would come up and you'd have like all the different ones like Taken and all this extra stuff. So I remember joining random ones and changing or making another PlayStation name just to have it. So it was always a fun one. So
that's awesome. So yeah, just
what's this, Joe?
What is this?
There it is.
Oh no!
Look at this guy.
Oh no!
Oh boy! I think I was drunk with my wife at this game.
That's me. That's my San Diego State photo. That's me at Cal Baptist senior year or something playing.
Oh, I was at that game, probably drunk with my wife.
The rack. Look at this guy.
Oh my god!
Oh jeez.
Bucket getter.
Oh my god!
Hilarious. What is it? What do we got here, Joe?
All right, so like that right there on the top is the original banner that was on League Daddy. So like what you see in the middle there is the absolute worst logo. It's a fucking embarrassing thing to look at, right? Is the very first logo made in Photoshop, and it was kind of like some sort of
god,
one of those metallic tools, I think that so and on top of some like weird serif font or whatever, and that shows right whoever the champions were or whatever. Like that Champ Dog, I think maybe. And
yes, Jeff, listen, I don't know how many guys are listening to this, but like to be even like featured in that magazine was like the
huge.
Coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like to do is I kind of got that too. And because I was me, right? Like no one was ever really writing about me, which is fine. But also I kind of like, I felt that. I was like, hey, this would be cool to get someone to like shout out. So one of the things, and I noticed it in my, because I have my articles, by the way, is sort of like, hey, a handful of people, everyone's going to talk about whoever the conference leaders are and the guys that are in the vying for the champs or whatever. Like, I want to figure out how my column sort of talks about other dudes and sort of like, and honestly, it was like people that I like to talk about or stuff like that. And so, yeah, I get it. And also like, yeah, I kind of secretly wanted to like just be a normal dude sometimes and just get to play or whatever. And then I don't know, like that is though, like the NDL Weekly and like what it was called the Mag, I think first or earlier than that. Right. And so, like those articles and like the content creating that people did, it was awesome that people were just sort of like getting into it like that. But also, again, you start talking about the community part of things when you're shouting out other dudes and doing all that stuff. It's
Jeff, listen, it's funny looking back at this stuff. I remember telling my brother, I'm in this league, like whatever you do, like I remember saying this, whatever you do not mess up. Because like I said, whatever you do not mess up, because this league is like, just don't mess it up. I'll never forget, like looking back at this stuff now, like I don't remember a lot. Like I'm not, again, I'm not a video game guy, but like the NDL is the one thing that I do. My brother and I play golf late at night. That's our thing. Like Jeff, we've talked about, we're all going to get on the course together. But
yeah,
I
absolutely.
remember telling my brother, like, don't mess this up because this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, like, no, I promise I won't mess this thing up because like this means too much. Like, and looking at this stuff, like.
So Joe, roll back up one. You can see right there, this thing, I just had a random screen cap on my very old, that's Internet Explorer browser, right, of League Daddy. So that was just randomly, I decided I want to take a picture of some recap that I did. And like, that's what League Daddy looked like. I had kind of forgotten how just sort of like, I don't know, basic 20 years ago internet was. But like, below that, you start to see like, oh, hey, the banners that I would do for some of the teams or whatever.
Yeah.
They eventually got better. I mean, you know, so much about my Photoshop stuff was kind of like learning it as I go. All right, so here you're seeing like the second and third NDL logos. All of those I think rolled out within like 1 calendar year of each other, and so just trying to iterate on all of those. But like that's fun. And that banner above with the tank. I don't know if you guys remember War Games.
We love
something like this. War Games. Does it still exist, or do you do anything like this now?
No,
oh my God, bring it back, right? So it was the idea that like you find 5 dudes and you all pick teams or whatever, and then you just basically kind of like do a round robin, but it's like 5 dudes individually owning teams or whatever. And so like
that was the
Cobra
best.
Kai was the name of our 5-guy clan, and we ended up winning War Games season 1. Like what I fucking love that idea.
Yeah, we're gonna bring it back. They're talking about it right now on the Twitch. We're gonna do it.
Nice.
Oh, that stuff was.
So there's the old farm logo.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
And then this right here, like when I saw this, because I had forgotten, but like that right there, which is actually it's 2 files. It is a screen cap of the header of the forum and then kind of the body of the forum. That there was where I spent an unlimited amount of like time at work on that site and time at home on that site and just sort of like doing it. And the 10,000th shout out to Blake for sort of like me forcing him, I think, to learn PHBB and sort of like, hey, this is what I want. Can you make it for me? Right. And like, oh, hey, the board really can't handle this. And so like all of that stuff or whatever. So like,
Jeff, you know, it's interesting. Like and Joe, pause that for a second. I remember, and mind you, I was a guy that I don't want to boast about myself, but I was a top 100 player in the country in 1998 class. I played 4 years of college basketball. I could have played professionally overseas. The second, when I was 24 years old, you said, hey, Jeff, I need you to come down to the farm and play like a secret game for me. I was so honored. And I think what bothers me a lot about new generation is guys come in and they're just good at video games. And they don't like people are people. Like, cool, you're great at a video game, but like, it's not what the NDL was about. The NDL was about like the sportsmanship, the camaraderie, and I that's what kind of really bothered. I stay away from all that, but I remember the fact, like, because you hardly ever aimed me. Remember, we were on AIM, right? And I think I was like Blonde Stud, and you were like Jeff Mo, and you aimed me. And I'm like,
before that,
I was like
Blonde Stud.
I mean, mind you, I played in the pit in front of 17,000 people on ESPN at New Mexico, and not nervous, but you aimed me, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I remember telling Mark, I'm like, I got asked to play a ghost game.
It's awesome. I love that.
Guys, it's a different deal nowadays. I hope the new guys eventually listen to this because it's like, dude, this is a pretty special place. And
well, like, here's what I'll say about to the new guys as you pop in here. And honestly, like to us old men yelling at clouds right now, is the idea that like, yeah, some of this is a little bit different, but also like some of the exact same things that you're describing existed back then. I think one of the things that we had a luxury of, and I don't know sort of like what applications look like, but quite honestly, there are a million other options competing for people's attentions and their video game attention, right? And like the ability to just sort of like, I don't know, fire up 2K and just walk into the theater and do a quick, whatever. Whoever the adults in the room are and the older guys and the guys that care about this stuff, like the kids, like it is the freak story, right? It is the idea that 16-year-old freak put in an application on PS2 and like didn't even get looked at because I was an age discriminator right from the jump, and so these problems. My whole point is like these problems existed 20 years ago, and like there's still things that you have to sort of like work your way through, but also like I don't envy everyone like that has to sort of like read these apps and figure out who.
So Jeff, like what I loved about the NDL and why like my brother and I were so focused on it, why I wanted Joe in it, because it was like NDL was based upon how you treat people, not about how you beat people. And that's just like no one wants to lose a game, right? But like Freak didn't want to lose. Now he's bummed out. Like shoot.
Nah, I'm not bummed out. I'm good.
He's not going to be an ass about it.
I'm bummed out for Michigan Freak.
I'm sorry I couldn't bring your team back to honor. It's been a bad season. Bad game this year with no practice.
Michigan owner except for what Block M, I'm proud of. That guy was terrible. Also kidding. Still kidding.
Well, look, I'll tell you, he can't wait to get Michigan back, and he's been on that. He got a little annoying this offseason.
You want to talk about annoying? Fucking 20 years ago, Block M. Same deal, right? Like, this is the least surprising thing I've ever heard, man.
So, wait, who's more annoying to you, Block M or Paxi?
So, Paxi's a great example of sort of like, so Paxi was 18 years old, I think, when he started. And
he was young.
Like, we kind of made an exception for him. And quite honestly, like, some of the time I felt like it was biting me in the ass. Like, why am I doing this? Because like everything that people sort of say, but also like one of the great things, and I don't know what frequency of on mic play is in the league or whatever, but one of the things that I think we knew back then or learned back then was like, as much as you can kind of encourage guys to just like hop on mic, the more humanity we see right in each other and the ability to actually like, if I'm talking to a dude on the mic and we're just sort of like going on, and I'm like, shit, I think it happened with me last year when I was playing some dude I met for the first time or whatever, and he was crushing me. It was the idea that like, you got someone on the mic, you're just going to be less inclined to completely shit dude, because like there's humanity there. You're talking, and I don't need to do this. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I also know that like that's sometimes a pretty tough ask, and quite honestly, a lot of times you want to get on the mic.
Well, what was crazy is when I first came into the league, I found out that I had a game against Sudden Blues. Little did I know that at that time I was living in Ewing, New Jersey, and he was working not too far up the street in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. And we randomly met up actually walked into his job at the mall. I was like, it was pretty cool getting to meet an NDLer, out of 100, and at that time, 118 coaches, 120 coaches, wow, one actually lives close by. So it was pretty cool getting to meet someone. So I've always loved the league.
There was a dude in the league who we never. Sometimes you just don't bother to ask people where they live. I forget what his name was, and I'm kicking myself for not remembering. But he literally worked at the Special Olympics in Nashville, which was physically across the street from my house. Like,
that's crazy.
Worked there, and I didn't know that. And like he was like, "Oh, I live in Nashville. I work at the Special Olympics." I'm like, "What the? Are you kidding?" Like, we did end up. I didn't end up meeting a lot of dudes, but like, yeah, obviously we met up. I think we played golf one day. We did a golf scrimmage.
That's pretty cool.
So you two were talking about Pat. I'm substitute teaching at like a high school. I'm 24 years old. Me and Pat are hitting it off. Pat comes hang outs with me, and Pat is one of the best dudes around. That dude has a genuine heart. Like he and I went to this like Latina club in Long Beach, and that dude is honestly, outside of whatever you think on the live chat, that dude is legit. I love Pat.
Did you bring Pat in, Jeff?
I did not, but I brought him into a classroom of mine where I'm like, getting.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you brought him into the league, if he found the league through you.
No, Pat's awesome. Love him. He's a good dude. He spent the night at my parents' house with me, and I'm like 23 years old. The dude's a stud.
Hey,
No, look, I've heard good things about Pat. Can't wait to meet him one day. I know him and I have, he's grilled me a lot, and we've gone back and forth with stuff. But I really can't wait to meet him and actually get to see what he's like in person.
Freak, I've played Pat probably 15 times in the past 2 games. I'm 15-0 against him, just so you know.
Hey,
that's
Jeff,
good.
Jeff, no.
Yep.
I cannot let you leave this chat. We have a big time beer, bourbon, and ball follower. His name is Chip. He's probably one of the best guys on this game. He plays religiously with his hometown school in the MAC.
Dr. Bush.
What do you remember about the history of the MAC? Now, I know Big Mike, UC Weiser, M. Barikoff. We were all staples of the MAC, and we loved the MAC. The MAC back in the day was the conference you wanted to be in. It was like, just so you know, it was like the Mountain West now of the NDL. The NDL is with all the old-time guys. The MAC was
Mountain West.
The MAC back then was where all the good guy, like the good dudes were. And I don't mean that in a bad, but
no.
Chip wants to know, what do you remember about the history of the MAC?
So you are absolutely right in terms of the good guys, but it actually was kind of like both the good guys and the good players. So one of the things, and I assume that some version of this exists now, but correct me if I'm wrong. But like when you're looking at, if you're not sort of like always Michigan, then you sort of like look at the teams that are out there, and you're trying to also kind of figure out how to get the best win number and who are the good teams, right? Because at the end of the day, like the top teams are the top teams, but you're playing your teams in conference. Who are the best teams or the sneaky good teams? Or back 20 years ago, right now we're talking about like who is the team? Houston with Kevin Cobb, who is this sort of like super mobile quarterback or whatever, and does these things because you're just going to run all over SMU and all of the other guys. Because ultimately, if you are the Big Mike playing as Kent State in the MAC with before Edelman, who was the super mobile quarterback that had that was there, Josh, I don't know, man.
I'm not gonna lie, I loved Kent State with Dree Archer when he was there. That was my guy. That was my running back because I had them for 1 year.
So what they would do is like it was a couple things. It was like really good guys like Mark or whatever, but also like there were a handful that were just kind of like they were setting up whatever their next season draft was. Like, oh hey, I haven't played with Florida State yet. Let me, pick Central Michigan, crush my win goal. All I've got to do is also beat Eastern Michigan, which is a D- team, right? And then sure that everyone gives me good grades, and then sort of like I'll be drafting top 5, and so that was kind of the MAC experience then, and even I think a little bit of WAC too. It depends. Like I think, Jeff, did you use Air Force 1 year? Somebody really loved Air Force for a couple seasons or whatever, but like that was one of those motion offenses. I think they were running, I don't know, Widener, the double wing, something like that, but. What they would do is they would sort of like find the edges in these conferences with good guys, and then also where they could end up sort of like at the top. And so it was kind of like a double-edged deal. But with you, Mark, then you just sort of like found yourself in kind of like a middling team. And then also like, oh, hey, some of the absolute best players are just sort of like slumming it down here with, Western Michigan Broncos throwing Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's just Jeff. It's been. I know speaking for Jeff Daddy, and then I know Fruit's been in the league for a while, and Jokers is one of the better players in the NDL. He's been very quiet, but I mean, just listening to the history of what the NDL is, and I told somebody just now in the forums that before you become an NDL guy. I'm going to say this. You need to listen to this BB&B episode. I mean, Jeff, again, you don't have to ever play an NDL game. I don't have to ever win an NDL game ever again, nor do I care. But like, this has been informative, and this is what the ground roots of what the NDL is. And I think sometimes we forget that. I think the guys that run this, Nidler and Shell and Rain and Homie, they stay true to the NDL stuff that you created. I just wish the new NDL guys would know this and listen to this, but it's a different day and age. I mean, we're in 2025. It's different, and I think Jokers and Jeff Daddy and Freak will speak for this. It's different than it was 20 years ago. Tell me, what do you think, guys? Jeff Daddy, you're on mute. Just
muted. Oh, muted again.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Mark, it would have been last season's game. I don't know who the owner was, and I apologize for throwing it. But remember, like, I was up by 3, and it was like 7 seconds left, and it was on the guy's opposing 5-yard line, and he play action, passed, and threw it deep and won the game. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I think I texted you. I'm like, man, I just got cheese. I'm just bummed. I didn't say anything to anybody, and then somebody in the Discord messaged me, "Hey Jeff, I watched your game." Jeff Mo, like, this is cool. I watched your game, and that was illegal. What that guy did, that was wrong. And I'm like, my first instinct was never to go tell. My first instinct was like, I'm bummed out that somebody would do this to win a game, you know. Yeah. So what the guy did was it was a play action pass, mind you, with 5 seconds left. I'm up by 3 on his own 5-yard line, which is absolutely crazy. And he hot routed his running back to a streak instead of a play action. And like you saw the video, my cornerbacks came in to do it, and then his guy ran free and they threw it deep and he just scored and he won. Cool. And I remember telling my brother, and I think Joe, I think you were part of this too at some point. I was like, I'm really bummed out someone would actually do that. You know, it was just like a really bummer moment. I don't know if the guys in the league, I have to look it up, but it was like, I was just like really bummed out, Mark. And what you're saying, it's just, I don't know, man. You resonated with me, Mark, when you're saying that. And I was like, I remember that moment where I felt really bummed out that somebody would do that, you know, to win a game. It's like, that's not what the NDL was founded upon, right?
No, it's funny you say that because there's a lot of times where I'm playing a guy and it's 24-17 and there's minute 30 left. And I'm like, I always text them like, dude, I'm not calling a timeout. Just kneel it, bro. This was a great game. And I think they're surprised by that. This dude's really just like, yeah, I don't give a flying rip. The NDL is about the community, Jeff Mo. And Jeff, that's kind of why my brother and I wanted you so badly to be on this. There's number one, because I think you needed to say why you left. Number 2, people need to know that the NDL, whatever it was, how many years ago, was formed for the community. And I think we forget that, Jeff. And it's a stupid, I'm going to be honest. I'm 51 flipping years old. I'm a college Division I basketball assistant coach. My brother and Jokers are highly successful high school guys. You're a highly successful guy with Congressman Freak. You're successful. It's a freaking video game. I think a lot of these people in the NDL right now forget that. And what the NDL was based on, and I mean this wholeheartedly, it was based on the community, not on wins and losses. It was based on a community of friendship, and it's a video game. And I wish we could get back to that. I don't give a flying rip what my career record is. I'm terrible at video games. I have zero interest in it. But my interest is
you got interest.
No, I don't. I have interest because I'm freaking Syracuse and I don't even follow that goddamn
team. But Mark, Mark, don't forget to add respect.
Yes, but it's
but the community is number 1.
Respect and community. It's I just want people to know, Jeff, whatever you did, it doesn't matter to me. What you created was the respect in the community of guys that have been friends for years over a stupid video game.
Well, 20 years, Mark. It's a long time, man.
20 years. Jeff, to have you on 20 years ago from an email that I was scared to death to get. And I was fearful of my life to do anything wrong of bouncing some stupid out, running back outside the hash marks. it meant so much to me that my wife, like I mean this. I was playing a guy named 6 Foot who's been in the league forever, Leroy. My wife and I, when my brother convinced me to get back in the NDL, because I told my brother, I'm like, I have no desire to be in the NDL to play video games anymore. He's like, no, just do it. My wife heard Leroy on the mic, and she goes, I remember that guy. You guys used to play all the time, and his girlfriend at Berkeley, and they were having issues, and like we used to talk about this. Like, Jeff, forget, you don't, like, again, I say this and I mean this, and I'm going on a tangent. You do not need to apologize for leaving the league, doing whatever. What you created could never be duplicated. The people right now that are on this live chat listening, Jeff, like it's a freaking video game, but you've created friendships.
Yep.
You've created people that have bonded for life.
Yeah.
And this is more important than a video game. And I wish the NDL guys would remember that.
Hey,
Jeff,
Mark, I don't want to like say too much, but Jeff has unofficially with me agreed, because I think I'm going to be sending him Bardstown like on the double.
Ooh.
He's agreed to me to come on as a special guest almost every other week. We do a BB&B, and
what? Okay.
Yeah, it's a special thing, right? Right, Jeff? We're negotiating that still, right?
Yeah. I mean, whether or not this is the first I've heard of this, maybe sort of like set aside to the idea that, like, I mean, here's the deal. How about this? For the entire month of October. By the way, is Kegerator right? Is there a Nashville NDL meetup? I will come to this if I am still in Nashville.
Yes, there is. There will be.
Actually, next year.
Oh, next year? So, after I leave Nashville. Great idea, guys.
This won't be.
I mean, don't listen to me. I don't know anything.
For the entirety of the month of October, my wife will be in Naples starting her job. I am staying back a month to just hang out. But quite honestly, the rate that we're packing, which, by the way, this camera is politely focused away from the bullshit that is like a box and like every hoodie I've ever owned and like some awesome jerseys that I forgot that I had and like all of these suits from when I used to be much bigger and like the shit that I'm giving to Goodwill. But like definitely shouting out the Grinches and the 11 undefeated. But the idea is like, yeah, I'll be around in October and I'll be like really bored. And so
hey,
you have some current NDLers still around that area, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Joe?
I don't live there.
No, I'm saying we have some current NDLers.
Oh yeah, we do. We do. Yes.
So just get into Discord, man.
All right. That is the first step. Is
get into Discord. You'll see how much the community has changed.
A regular but irregular follower and visitor to Discord with literally no expectations of myself that I will then be guilty about failing to meet. I am going to hop in and sort of like kick it on Discord.
Man, look, once you turn Discord on, you're gonna be going crazy. You're gonna see all the messages. You're gonna want to jump in. Turn that thing on mute. I'll tell you that.
Hey, Freak, thank you for coming on, man. We're gonna have to segue out of this.
Sorry I didn't let you in when you were 16.
You're good, man. There's no issues with that. It took me forever to get in, but I'm good. Y'all have a good one, guys.
Jeff afterwards. So thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you, Freak.
Have a good one, guys.
And then, Jeff, dude.
Real quick before I feel like we're wrapping up. Mark, one of the things you were talking about the age, and I do want to touch a little bit on your soliloquy, but I'll go quick, is the idea that like the reason why I said all of that stuff existed 20 years ago, everything that you're identifying existed then too. Whether or not it was different or whether or not like the kids today or whatever, the fascinating thing for me to realize, I realized this last year, and I think I told Tat and maybe Mike about it, was the idea that like, I think I'm older now than when Spidey was in the league, and we thought he was the world's oldest man, right? And so, like, that idea that sort of like somehow granted, none of us talk as slow as Spidey or as awesome as he did or whatever, but like that idea is sort of like, also, I remember being 20 years younger than Spidey and him sort of like having this very protracted view of the youth today, right? And trying to sort of like figure out how to talk to him about the idea that like, hey, it's fine that you're not the best or whatever, and what we're trying to do is the community part and all of that stuff. I think that ultimately, and I don't envy Nidler and Blake and all the guys who have to sort of like find the people in the space that then sort of like assimilate into this community that has existed for 20 years. It can't be easy. I would think that it's only been back a year, right? And so the idea, hopefully, is that over time, people will assimilate. People will figure it out, and that there will be more guys that just sort of figure it out who make sense with it to then find their way in.
Yeah.
I feel like the idea itself is one that sort of like is good enough that it's universal, and people, whether or not they know about it, would love it as it is.
Well, I mean, Jeff, I think the thing is with the NDL, whatever it is now, there's the basis is still from what you created. And I feel for guys like Nidler and these guys that have to find guys, because the new age video players are different than it was 20 plus years ago. But
yeah,
the basis of everything that we do in the NDL has a Jeff Mo touch on it. And I know my brother will say that. And my brother got Jokers into this league, and my brother told me, he goes, Jokers is the cheesiest mother flipper who ever played this game. But Jokers decided to play the NDL way, and that's how he plays now. I remember my brother
because Joe didn't know this thing existed.
Yeah, he didn't know. But Jeff, that goes back to what you created, and I think it's just
okay. We have one last question, Mark.
Yeah.
And this comes from Rain. And Rain says, question for Jeff. What advice would you give the current administration team as they navigate the new online society, the updated game, and other obstacles to ensure that the NDL lives strong forever?
So it is an excellent question. And if I am to think back 20 years ago, one, I had a bunch of really great people around me and that helped with that. Two, the thing that I realized a little less than a year ago, I talked about how I ran a campaign here in Nashville, the transit campaign, is the idea that like my team, who are a bunch of Gen Zers, did an excellent job of diagnosing me with a neurodivergence ADHD that I never knew that I had. But then like once I actually got it really diagnosed, like, oh yeah, I am like as far out onto the edge of this thing as possible, which then sort of like explains a little bit about how and why I do things the way I do, which is sort of like a tireless and never-ending attempt to sort of like do all of the things and working 18-hour days and doing campaigns and all of that stuff. My advice to Rain and Nidler and all of the guys is like, just as much as you can, sort of like make sure that people are out there. You'll have to promote a little bit, figure out where the promotion is. If I'm going to put on my marketing communications hat, I would want to try to figure out like, how do we get ourselves in front of the right type of gamer? What is the way to do that? The league itself, guys in the league, I don't know how many of you all, my estimation based on probably the average age of the old generation of this league, you're not doing a lot of lobby NCAA football in your free time because you don't have free time. But as much as you're able to find other people to bring them in word of mouth, who then apparently Joe, being the world's worst cheeser, figured out how to assimilate. Like this is what I told Joe from a few minutes ago. It was a resounding, testimonial for you. But at the end of the day, like figuring out how to like find the right guys and speak to a generation of people that like, if you can avoid getting guys who just won't get it because they lack the prefrontal cortex to be able to figure this thing out. But also like those are the dudes who ball, right? And so like they're the ones who online game, and finding people our age who haven't picked it up. And maybe one would hope that because the game went away and came back, more of those guys came back to the game. But there isn't a lot of advice I can give you, Rain, other than to say like keep at it, try to figure out how to get more people's eyeballs on it, and then feel bad when you sort of like prejudge a guy like Freak, who probably would have been an amazing 16-year-old in the league, but he had to wait 22 seasons to get in.
Jeff, I just got word We broke the record, 4.9 million viewers tonight. We thank you.
Cheers.
We hope to get
Cheers
you
to
in.
all 4.9 million.
Every other BB&B, I think we're going to work on that negotiation. So every 2 episodes, you're going to come on. 5.5 million. Thank you, Ricky. 5 million. So, Jeff, thank you, brother.
I appreciate it. Before I get out of here, Joe, 20 years ago or so, I don't know when Fat Tire made its way, when New Belgium made distribution into Nashville, but there was a period of time where literally Sierra Nevada was the most exotic beer that you could come across that wasn't like, because it didn't exist. We live in a world now where, like, again, we are the old men yelling at clouds on this podcast. In fact, I'm voting right now to change beer, bourbon, and ball to old men yelling at clouds. But the idea that ultimately, you just didn't have options. It's certainly not all of the options that we've got now. And so when Fat Tire made it to Nashville, I just remembering, like, this is the best thing. And quite honestly, it's been a 15-year plus relationship with that beer that sort of like can never get away from that bike. And just like that simple logo that like is absolutely perfect. And it sort of like fit the idea of this kind of like cool and hip brand in Colorado. It's like a better beer. It doesn't just have to be Rolling Rock or, domestic or whatever. So
Or Coors Light.
Shout out.
Well, I appreciate that love, man. I really do. And just for record, I'm not cheesy. I just beaten my record against him is 62-1-1. So he's just upset. That's all. So, but I appreciate you being on. I stay quiet. Just listen to history, and how we got to where we are today. And the one thing I'll add is when I got to join and thought about having this show and doing this show with these guys is the one piece was. The piece you guys are talking about was the community aspect, and it was a lot of people just behind a mic, and by putting faces to people's names, I've really enjoyed getting to know people in the community that you've built. So really appreciate everything you've done, and I really appreciate you joining Beer Bourbon.
Well, and that faces to names thing, as I depart, I am now reminded that like I didn't put myself in many public. This may be for some people in the old generation the Jeff Morris face reveal pod as well. I hope it lived up to all the things that you wanted it to be, guys.
50% of the league think you're the Midler, so we might have to get you and Midler on.
I think we've now debunked that well-standing theory.
I'm gonna say, I will say this before we go. I worked really hard to fucking find you.
Great work.
All the old stuff I had of you didn't like. It bounced back to me, so I was. Yeah. Everything I had.
It's funny that my brother says that, Jeff, because I looked through old emails and I'm like, I have a number from you that didn't exist anymore. And my brother was like, that's no good. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you because Jeff, I told my brother, I said, I forgot. Jeff Mo and I used to talk on phone all the we used to talk to we would call each other.
Mark, you know how I got him?
LinkedIn.
PSN Network.
PSN Network, yeah.
I
pop in every now and then. 2K is where I'll just sort of like randomly throw on
your old email.
But also, by the way, guys, and like
I'll bounce back.
I know that Blake homie can be a little bit cagey at times or whatever. Literally has my contact info. Like he knows. Like you should have just asked him if you were looking for it. Got a hold of me last year. Pretty easy for me to get back to him. He definitely still has that.
Jeff, we've been trying to do this show for 2 years.
All right, fair enough. Well, homie, he always hides the information, right?
I'm not going to speak for Joe, but you've got a nice gift pack coming from Joe soon, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, right? Every other episode you're on. Is that correct?
We'll figure out something that works for everyone, yeah. But I am in to come back, although like I feel like this act may wear thin at some point or another. I can only sort of like go down memory lane a few times, but apparently I have memories of everyone. Just keep rolling out old people. Kegerator, come on next. Get me all the other people. I'll just start. If someone find me Feisty Gator and Fat Matt, and we'll have a whole great episode. Yeah, definitely Pat. Bring me Pat. Bring me See It, Save It. Bring me D-Dub. Give me all of the tiniest little boys who are now fucking 40 years old.
Jeff, if you agree to come on in 2 weeks, I will find you 3 of those that will come on the show with you. 3.
2 weeks is when? Give me the first. What this is a Wednesday show?
Normally,
No,
yes.
it's Thursday. It's Wednesday or Thursday.
All right.
Thursday. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
So I could theoretically pop in. No, I'm out of town that one. All right. So I could do October 9th. If you want a whole sort of like
Boom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
All right.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great stuff, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, Jeff, thank you. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Jokers, thank you for being part of the show and doing this for us. We appreciate you, Jeff.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you for putting this together. Mark and Jeff, I can't tell you how much I appreciate both of you and all of the kind words.
Later, Jeff.
See you, Jeff. Wow. Man, NDL, baby. Best league in the world.
Unbelievable. BB&B. No one can top us, boys. What a show. What a show. What a show. Jeff Daddy, golf.
Two brothers and a joker cutting through the noise, breaking down players like they're breaking in toys. They talk
Right.
like
See you,
laughs
fellas.
and lose
Good
next
See you,
stuff,
boys.
man.
Peace.
Best league in the world.
Sip slow, speak real, let the bench brawl. You tuned in now to Beers, Bourbon, Ball.